I'm live. Oh, I see there's already a couple. Hey, Gato, what's going on? Right on. Yeah, I got Mario Greco. I'm pretty sure he's out of Quebec as well. He's going to be coming on with me. I'm going to send him the link. He posted a couple tweets there. And like I say, rather than respond with a couple hundred characters, I figured, why not let's just do it in a live stream, right? So, yeah, just give me a sec here. I finished sharing the links. Okay, that's good. Share this one. Okay. And then I've just got to get the link for Mario to join. If you want to join too, Gato, or anyone else wants to join, like I say, I just need to, well, on any of my social media pages, if you just send a message, because you don't want me, well, I don't want to send the link publicly, and you probably don't want to just put your email out there public. Okay, so let me just close this back up. Send this to Mario. There we go. Message. There we go. Okay. Here is the link. Here's the link to join. All right. There we go. Sent. Perfect. Perfect. So let me just give him some time. Actually, let me check the tweets. Right on. Okay. Cool. I'm getting. Okay. Right on. Okay. Actually, I'll just respond right here. I am live now. Yeah, it's funny. Well, it probably comes down to I think what it'll ultimately come down to is libertarians get this, well, especially from statists. Statists love to try to suggest that libertarians are just cold-hearted beasts that don't care about anything, right? It's like, couldn't be any further from the truth. But I think that's why a lot of people don't give libertarianism a second thought. It's because they hear about it. Oh, those are just people. All they care about is getting rich, right? And hedonism or something. I don't know what the hell people think, but it's obviously they don't know what the word even means, right? Libertarianism. So, but because there is negative connotations that, like I say, the statists use to persuade people not to even learn about libertarianism, you do end up with situations like that. Because I've heard that argument from so many people that, you libertarians, you don't care about anything but yourself and money, right? So what the hell? Where do you get that from? Self-ownership, property rights, the non-aggression principle. I don't know how you get that, other than we're supporters of free market capitalism. Yes, of course, free market. Hey, what's going on, Derek? Yeah, I watched your video there earlier, Derek. That was pretty cool, man. The one that you shared, and yeah, that was good. And as you know, I share your concerns and what's going on, and yeah, the frustrations. Hey, what's going on, Tinkerbell? Good to see you. Good morning. Oh, by the way, everyone, if you would just hit that like button. My stream yesterday, I don't even think I've hit 100 views. What the hell? It's like I say, ooh, do or whatever. What's that Twilight song? Twilight Zone. Remember? I really do feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. Hey, good morning, Gary Show. How's it going? Love that sweet yellow bug. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you've had that picture for quite some time now, Gary? Anyways, like I say, anyone else that wants to join into the chat, I'm just, like I say, I'm holding out here for, hey, what's going on, AJ? I'm just holding out for Mario Greco. As a NBer, I'm very familiar with that name Greco, because that's one of the few pizza spots that you can find out in some of these little rural communities. You're not going to find like a pizza or a Pizza Hut or Pizza Nova, but you'll find a Greco dotted all over the landscape. And I'll tell you, they got great donaires. Actually, I like their donaires and their garlic bread better than even their pizza. The pizza, I find the sauce is a little bit on the sweet side. I like my sauce kind of like, tangy a little bit, right? But still, good stuff. Hey, maybe Mario is part of that Greco fortune, right? I don't know how. Maybe I'll have to ask him. Actually, I think I might have already done that in the past, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, AJ, sorry. That's a Corona cover. Hey, well, the wife does work out in the public on a regular, like practically, well, not every day, but that's the thing. It's actually, I might as well say that before Mario joins. Is this whole thing was we definitely, and I agree 100%. Definitely, we definitely got to protect the vulnerable, right? The weak, the elderly, those who have conditions that makes them predisposed to, to suffering grave harms as a consequence of getting a virus such as the COVID. But think about it. Now, me as someone, I've been with my wife 30 years, 30 years. And I mean, I love my grandma. I'm sure those of you who regularly watch my show are familiar with the fact that I have a grandmother that was a major inspiration for me in my life. When my mom and my real dad was going through the divorce, she was the one that basically took me under her wing, right? But I love that woman. And like I say, she's 93 or no, 94. No, crap, she's 95 now because she was born, or no, she won't be 95 till August of this year. So no, she's 94, born 1925, but 25. But anyways, I mean, I love that woman with all my heart. And I would do anything to protect her. Like, so I wouldn't obviously choose to go visit her, even though I don't think I have any virus, right? But I still wouldn't take that chance, right? Or place her in a vulnerable situation like that. But I just find it so profoundly insane. And it's what it is people are just going by what the media is telling them how to think, which is, and that's true because just by how people are responding and reacting, it's like, you're just repeating like basically word for word what you heard on the media. Because I love my grandma, but why is it we don't care about like people like the way the media is presented is even people that aren't old, are susceptible. And there are people they've said that now I'm like, to me, I'm not alarmist. I don't take this as a huge threat. Otherwise, I would be much more concerned than I am. But what about people like my wife? I mean, as much as I love my grandmother, if you like held a gun to my head and one of them were headed, the trolley dilemma, right? One had to die. I mean, I love my grandma, but she's lived a long, 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 fruitful life, right? Whereas my wife, we still got a lot of history or a lot of future yet to unfold. So I'd probably pick my wife. Hope my grandmother never hears this, right? Although she would probably agree with me, actually, to be honest with you. Because my grandmother, even at the age she is, she still makes sense in everything. But it's like, what the hell? I'm worried about people I love. I'm all about family. Like, holy Christ, there's a reason why, right? I'm all about the family. So yes, I definitely want to protect the members of my family, and I would expect anyone does, just as Mario. Actually, let me well, no, maybe I'll wait till. Oh, wait, I see message here on Twitter. See what Mario's saying. Thanks. I'll need a bit of time before I'll join. No problem. No problem. No problem. So he's just going to need a little time. So yeah, I guess in the interim, and I can always bring it up when he rejoins, anyways. Is I'll just bring up the tweets back and forth here. So Mario this morning, Mario this morning sent. Here it was. Okay. So, or let me just share it, right? Let me do the old screen sharage. Oh, did I share on? Yeah, okay, I did share on mine's good. Oh, by the way, I got accepted to form a community on Locals, that Dave Rubin's platform. I actually just got the notification by email this morning. Was it this morning or last night? Anyways, and I got it set up. I'll let you know about that later. But that's another one in addition to ThinkSpot. This one here on Locals is another one, and they're getting into the pay to play. But wow, great setups. Like I say, these platforms may very well end up being the future, right? Who knows? Like I say, but anyways, let me share the screen. Chrome tab. There we go. Okay, make sure everybody can see that. Yeah. Maybe let me make the wording a little bigger because I don't know, like if you're on a smartphone, I don't know if you can see these freaking things or not. Probably pretty small text if you're on like a smartphone or a tablet or something. Although that's the thing, you can always zoom up. So whatever. Anyway, so Mario sent, are you open to having your mother potentially affected with the virus deadly to her, which will then add more work to the overworked doctors and nurses and less space in the overloaded hospitals? I'm iffy on police enforcement, but keeping a distance from elderly is essential, which, yeah, I totally agree, right? And then, of course, I respond, if you're truly interested in having this discussion, I invite you to join me in a live stream in order to give a proper and thorough response, typing a few hundred characters. As you all know, yeah, I'm not gonna have a discussion like that on Twitter or even Facebook, because you just lose out on all the nuance. People can misconstrue what you're trying to say, because like with humans, we were designed to see each other's facial expressions, to look in each other's eyes. Like, to have a conversation like this, you really, now in person would be best, obviously, but the next best thing to in person is at least seeing each other and hearing each other with our actual words and our expressions. So yeah, for anyone else out there, like I say, I always invite people to have a conversation, a debate, or a discussion, but it's not going to be in text form. Not to mention, it takes forever to do in text form, because I'm not a typist, right? I'm pretty slow at that stuff, to be honest with you. And because I'm always particular about grammar, everything takes a while in case I make mistakes. Anyways, so I agree. Yeah, I agree. Sure, I'm open to that. Let me know which time of the day. I thought there was one more he had posted. Oh, there is another one. So that was his first one. There we go. And then the next one after this. So Mario said that my 80-year-old grandfather didn't even step into my house when we exchanged food items. We left it at the front porch and backed away far. As an elderly, he's susceptible to the virus. Even though I'm healthy, I could still have the virus but be asymptomatic. Got to be careful. And once again, just like I replied, good for you for doing what you can do to protect your grandfather. Once again, I am in full agreement that we must help protect the ill, the weak, the vulnerable, and the elderly. Anyway, so he agreed. So, we're just going to talk this out a little bit, just so that we can talk, because there are probably some other aspects that maybe I haven't thought of, and maybe Mario will bring up, because like I say, to me, I rely on other people to help me, think about things that maybe I haven't thought about so far, because I want to have a well-rounded perspective on this. And if I'm missing anything somewhere, it's like, well, fill me in, help me fill that void, help me fill that gap, right? But yeah, so like I say, I'm just waiting for him. But anyways, let's see what's going on with everyone okay, I can just take that off for now. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm all for it. I'm all for protecting the vulnerable, for sure. But like I was saying even a little bit earlier, there are lots of them. That's the thing. If you're deemed essential service, like apparently, like that's the thing. If you think about it, now who would be more concerned? Like me, would I be more concerned with like my family and protect them? Or is Justin Trudeau or Krista Freeland more concerned with my grandmother or your grandmother or your grandfather? Like, come on. I mean, people that go into government to think that these are the benevolent people, right? And us serfs, we're just a bunch of and us libertarians, we're just a bunch of cold-hearted beasts that just want to see the elderly dying in the streets or in their beds, right? Like, wow, man, what's up? Yeah, okay, so, but yeah, yeah, AJ, the Corona cough. I actually don't feel it, but of course, asymptomatic or whatever, but no, I feel fine. What is the topic you want to talk about? Just like I say, just basically, to me, the biggest thing is this collective punishment, this preemptive and collective punishment as a response to the COVID-19. To me, my position is, and I've said it multiple times, is yes, let's protect the weak, the elderly, the vulnerable, those who like have preconditions or cancer survivors or that are vulnerable, or even people that are going through cancer therapy right now, such as chemotherapy and stuff. Anyone that is vulnerable, you want to protect them. That just makes sense to me. But to shut down or force people, right, that want to be out in public, to force them to have the way everything's being locked down now, to force them to have to stay home, to not have to go to work, not have the ability to provide, to become now, have to basically forced to suckle on the government teat. Like, no, you shouldn't be able to force that. Now, when people say, oh yeah, but if you go out in public, well, what? If I go out in public, I've already owned up, just like my wife and just like lots of people. I mean, if you've been outside, people are still going outside. They're still going to the store. They're still going to Timmy's, which is essential service, right? They're still going to Dollarama, which is essential. So there's still people out there, right? And those people are choosing to go out there willingly, voluntarily, knowing that COVID-19 is out there. Now, why would you think that they should be forced into quarantine or self-isolation when they're the ones that are willing to own up to that risk themselves? If you're worried about someone that's vulnerable, those are the people that should not be out in public, right? Because like if I'm out in public and someone says, Oh, well, you're putting someone in danger. Oh, who the fuck's in danger? Because if I'm out in public and I'm putting someone in danger, they are the ones that chose to come out in the public too, didn't they? And it's like, well, maybe they should be a little more personal responsibility. And if they're fearful for their safety or their health, or what could potentially happen if they contact the virus or catch or get the COVID-19, they're the ones that need to be protected. They're the ones that need to isolate, right? Now, out in public, social distancing, of course, keep your distance. Like, hello, like I would suggest if I was out in public right now, of course, I'd want to at least keep my distance. I'm not going to be, hey, how you do? And like a foot away or something. I'm like, of course, common sense, right? but to suggest for even 1 minute that collective punishment, we're just going to lock down everyone or certain segments of the economy, large swaths of people, tell them they can't go to the beach, like Blaine Higg, the premier of New Brunswick. And yeah, he still hasn't responded yet. What a coward. Like, at least, listen, if you're going to try to pump up your chest and, oh, I'm going to bring out the military for anyone that goes to the beach, really? You're going to bring out the military for people that choose to disregard your fucking bullshit authoritarian orders and choose to go to the beach or a park, right? Like I say, oh, if they're out in the park, they what? Might be putting people in danger? Well, then what the fuck are the people that are scared or vulnerable out the hell in the park? Those are the people that shouldn't be in the park. Don't worry about the healthy people that don't worry about getting the virus. But see, this is the thing, like I've said so many times, collective punishment. And this when I was charged with impaired driving and all that bullshit and how the judges, everyone uses the excuse, oh, well, people kill. Well, yes, some people do go in on a fucking roadway, drunk out of their mind, driving their car all over the place and kill a family of 4. It doesn't mean when I have a couple beer out on my ATV on the trail and being responsible, it doesn't mean that I am the same, nor should I be treated the same. But that's what mandatory minimums is. Mandatory minimums is we're going to treat everyone collectively the same in terms of minimum sentencing, right? No, nothing to do with like, the facts of the case or whether there was a victim involved. No, it's just that blanket statement, collective punishment, which, like I say, that was my very first experience, which kind of even put me on this whole path of trying to learn about liberties. How the hell did we get to this kind of insanity? I just could not believe, because I was never a career criminal, so I never really had any dealings like much. I didn't get in trouble much with the law. But as an adult, a responsible adult, had my own home and, and now I'm a criminal for what? Having a couple beer in my, like, that was enough to me. It's like, whoa. Now I knew collective punishment was big, like in school and some of those government institutions, but I had no idea that it expanded it to the point where now adults treat each other as if they're fucking children. Like, that's such an authoritarian, and it does nothing. Like, what do you think by punishing me by having a couple beer on the ATV trail is going to stop some drunk? The drunk don't give a fuck, right? The habitual drunk, and we've all seen them. We all know who these people are. The habitual drunk who hasn't had his license for the last 20 years anyway is still going to be a fucking idiot. So I don't know, but you can't fix stupid, and punishing me isn't going to fix stupid either, right? So I don't know. Like I say, that was like I say, my first foray into this shit, collective punishment. This one is rearing its ugly head, which is, once again, it's having an effect on everybody, not just me or the minority of people that like to enjoy a couple cold ones out on the trail in the summer months, right? Or those of you that like to have a couple out on the boat or something, right? Like, whatever, man. But you say that because the propagandist campaign by Matt is so thoroughly jammed in people's head. Oh, you say you had a couple beer, they look at you like, oh, you must have just killed it. Oh, did you just kill a family for it? Where's there must be blood on your hand somewhere. It's fucking goddamn propagandist, right? Okay. Anyways, let's see what's going on, everybody. Let's see. You know me. I get on a big tear when you're talking about collective punishment, because that is, to me, that's one of, and it's such an easy remedy. Punish the people that do something wrong. Like, it's an easy remedy. You don't need collective punishment. You need laws, against things where there's a victim. If there's a victim involved, punish the person for creating a victim, right? And there's laws on the books. You're not allowed to murder. You're not allowed to injure people. That's right. There's so many laws on the books already that could take care of this. And if you leave it in the discretion of the judge, then everyone doesn't have to be treated the same way, because there's variances and differences in the kind of harms that do happen, right? Anyways, yeah, lots of people in the chat. Let me get on here. It's just but yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about there, Gato. It's hey, son of Rambo. Nice, Rambo. Yeah, nice. Hey, kids. What's going on, son of Rambo? Let's see here. I can't stand watching that stupid knob giving his morning lie test. Trudeau is to blame. Stupid knob giving his morning lie test. Trudeau is to blame. I'm not sure who's doing that. Yeah, I don't watch the actual video stuff. Like I don't have, like I say, I don't have cable TV. Everything I get is through the internet for the most part. And yeah, I don't like. I'm so glad I don't have that 24-hour. What see? Oh, someone shared a CNN article on my page as if like, yeah, okay, right, yeah, that's your trusted news source, is it? Well, it says they are America's trusted news source. Well, it must be then, if they say so. Sure, Ben, I'm well informed about COVID. Oh, okay, cool. Should I do it now or maybe wait till that's the thing? I wouldn't want to interrupt you. Would you be cool then if Mario come on? Well, of course I could bring you both on actually. So do you want me to send you a link there, Gato? I'll do it. So it'd be Minds. Yeah, let me do it on Minds because Minds is how me and Gato usually communicate. So invite. Go to Minds. Okay. All right then. Alrighty then. I will though. If you just give me a minute there, I want to get through some of the comments because I seen there's lots of people in the chat there. Got those. So just give me a sec here. Okay, where are we at? There we go. Got the message. Okay. Ah, crap. You have to enter a password. Yeah, I forgot about that. What is it again? Crap. I forget what my password is for this thing. I haven't used it in forever. Wrong password. Dang it. It's not one of those ones I keep right on hand either because I don't do a whole lot of messaging back and forth. Have me and Gato, have we ever exchanged on, let me check on Twitter messages. I don't see anything. Shoot. Well. How would I do this then? Okay, what I'm going to have to do then, Gato, is I'm just going to put it your latest post or whatever is it, the one that's pinned, and then just I guess just if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and delete it the minute I post it there. Yeah, we'll just try it that way then. Okay, comment. It's the one you got there that says it's funny to see how much your supposed masters are so out of touch with the common man. So I'll just send it right there. And then, like I say, just actually, I might even be able to go ahead and delete it after the fact, right? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, there it is. It's there, Gato. It's there. So, let me get back to the stream here, folks. AJ, what's AJ saying here? Was arguing in a Discord yesterday about someone saying ANCAPs believe. I know what the hell is. Well, that's the thing, right? If they have nothing to argue against you, if they have no argument, right? Not an argument. Stab them all in you. All rights reserved. Copyright. But yeah, if they have nothing to argue, if they have nothing to offer in terms of argument, yeah, they'll automatically attack you, and in such a vile way. Like to use the term pedophilia, and I won't even bring up a certain particular ranting kind of a dude tried to more or less allude that I was into that shit himself, which just showed you, like, you've lost the fucking argument once you've gone that way, buddy. Like completely. But yeah, that's insane. Like the people that do it, you know yourself, AJ. They don't have an argument. They got nothing to offer, so they got to try to attack your character. They got to try to make other people think that you're so terrible that don't listen to that person. That's how scared. Think about it. That's how scared they are that someone might actually hear your opinion and perspective. Is they're willing to go to such lengths to try to destroy your credibility before anyone's even heard anything what you said. Like that's someone that's scared to death, right? Because they know the power of truth. They know the power of reason. They know the power of logic. Hey, what's going on, Gato? I see Gato's in there. There we go.
What's up?
Not much. Oh, I just got to turn the old volume down here. Just a sec there, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm hearing you in stereo, so I have to mute the other one. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I do. If I actually, I don't even do it now. I used to have the StreamYards one and then open up the YouTube because the comments scroll down easier, which is great. That's why I get so far behind this one. But yeah, if I got them both open because of my internet connection, it's And I seen the one I was doing the other day, and kind of maybe I understand why people didn't necessarily watch that one because the quality was just terrible. Anyways, how you doing, Gato?
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure to have a chat with you, man.
Yeah, well, I'm always interested in hearing anything you got to say as well, and especially considering that you're saying. Actually, let me finish saying what how that Mac's saying. But because you are someone that apparently has some knowledge on the COVID-19, then yeah, it's good to have you in the chat. So let me
Yeah,
just read this here real quick. Power outage, South End, Halifax, using data also going for COVID-19 tonight at the hospital, getting picked up by short bus. And Max, 4 people at a time. I've had mild symptoms. Well, you take care of yourself there, Halifax, Max. And if you definitely, as we've all kind of alluded to already, if you do have people in your family that are vulnerable or susceptible, then yeah, be precautious for sure. But I'm sure you're already taking that into account anyways. But yeah, back to Gato. Yeah. So go ahead, just whatever you want to say there, Gato.
well, I want to start with that Twitter post you read. I have a few things to say about that. The guy said that you need the state to take care of your parents. I don't need the state to take care of my parents. I can take care of my parents for my elderly parents myself. We don't need the state to do that. And to bring your parents into an hospital, the number of sick people you have in an hospital, you're almost sure to catch a disease over there. So an hospital right now is the last place you want to be.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. And like you were saying, it's so weird how some of the way the governments react to this. And I'm not sure. Are you talking about because that Mario didn't say that the government should? Is that who you're saying? Because maybe.
Yeah, that's what I got from the message.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, I know. I definitely want to clarify that because no, Mario's good stuff too. Let me just get back to the notifications because yeah, just to clarify here because I'm pretty sure he said. Okay, just one sec here. I got to get back to the conversation. Oh, because I'm
But
pretty sure.
I want to make something clear. This crisis, uh, it's fake. It's a nothing burger. Seriously, every year, 500,000 people die from the flu.
Right.
Mostly the elderly or people with a compromised immune system. And do we close the economy every year for that?
No,
And
exactly.
and also a fourth of the colds of the flu that people get are coronavirus every year. The rest are influenza. So this is the least lethal coronavirus we had in our lifetime.
Really?
Usually, if a quarter of the flu is the corona, that means it kills 125,000 people per year. We don't even have 40,000 people died who died
Right.
from COVID-19. It's the weakest coronavirus ever. And the government sat on their hands for 2 months. They were asking people to hug a Chinese people. They were asking people to go out in public and celebrate the Chinese New Year. They gave away all the protective equipment to China. They tried everything to make this a pandemic, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So they went into panic mode with the media because apparently that works. People are sheeple.
That,
If you
that
repeat something often enough on TV, people will believe it.
right. That's why to me, getting people's mind in the right place is so important. That's the only thing that we have to counteract the propaganda is because they have that pretense of authority. So people will automatically yield and conform their own thinking, their own critical thinking, because they think that these people are in the position. And like I was saying yesterday in my last stream, I mean, just simple little things that they're doing right now just proves to you that they're not even consistent in their thinking. So Doug Ford, I don't know if you were watching my stream yesterday, but Doug Ford came out where now in Ontario, you can be fined up to $100,000. That's for an individual, not a business. That's just one individual, and sentenced to up to 100 or 1 year in jail if you don't follow through with the quarantine orders. Now, to me, the first thing I thought of, and it kind of happened on the fly because I was just thinking, as I was reading it, was okay. So they're trying to lock everything down, prevent people from being able to spread the virus or flatten the curve, as they suggest. It was like, which, initially kind of makes sense a little bit until you think, okay, wait a minute, $100,000 fine. I mean, you don't just pay the fine right away. You're going to have to go through a court process of some way, plead guilty or not guilty, because in Canada, like, it's not that draconian yet. We still have court systems where you're innocent until proven guilty, right? So what would happen? What would be the subsequent effects of getting either the fine or even eventually, having a term of prison, whether it's a year or just a day, 7 days, or a month? Is they're putting you in areas that like one of them was people that go to the beach. So you go to the beach where actually you have a lot of wide open space and you can practice some social distancing. But the response is, if you're out there doing the right thing, practicing social distancing, but you're outside, Doug Ford's going to what? Send you to a courtroom, which is basically like a big giant sardine can, people shoulder to fucking shoulder. Like, where does that make any sense? To me, or go to jail, where once again you're basically in a big gigantic enclosed environment, right? So it's like, where does that make any sense at all? It doesn't. Why? Because authoritarian is not thinking critically. They just power obscures their ability for the brain to think critically, which is why you cannot trust people in these positions of power or authority to be the ones that are determining or deciding what should be done. No, I don't agree with that whatsoever.
I want to point out two things. First of all, is TFM. He often says there's bad policies that are good politics, and there's a good politics that are bad policies, or something like that. Like sometimes you do something that is really bad policies, but it's going to get you re-elected. And on the conservative side, I think that's pretty much what we're seeing. If you look at Mr. Legault or Trump, we're saying that this was a nothing burger at the start, that people should do voluntary things to protect themselves if they want to, and that we need to keep the economy running.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got the feedback from the public. People were in panic mode. So he was like, okay, well, I have to give the public what they want. So I'm going to impose some stuff and get reelected. And you know what? They didn't have a choice. Trump, I think he's screwing the Dems up the ass, because he's not going to give that $1 trillion. He never wanted to give that $1 trillion. The Democrats are going to block him, and he knew that he was going to be blocked on that $1 trillion. So that's fine. The crisis is going to be over long before he signs that check. The second thing I wanted to point out, well, I forgot what I was going to point out, so keep talking. Maybe it's going to come back.
Oh, no worries. Well, to me, like I say, and that's one thing about me, because I care about liberty. Doesn't matter to me whether they come from the left or the right. I'm saying that a proper response would be to leave it in the hands of people that are competent to make these decisions. Politicians should not be the ones making these decisions. And that's the thing. This one size fits all approach leaves out the ability for the people that have the proper skills and the knowledge to do so. Because even some doctors that may disagree with these approaches, well, they have to conform to a politician, right? So even some of these, very, very astute, like I say, people in the field that have much better ideas. And that's the other thing. We're getting conflicting messaging depending on the doctors too. So it's really hard, but to determine who's right or who's wrong. But what I've always known, what I've always learned is, regardless of political rhetoric, the most important thing we have to do in any society, even under wartime, I would say this even under wartime, is because people say, oh, we have to do this. Like, they're even pretend we're in wartime now, right? Well, what was, since you're bringing up wartime, do these people forget why Canadians were sent overseas? It was to counteract this kind of authoritarianism. It was precisely to defend the liberties that we hold so dear in these countries. So to me, to throw them out on the pretense of whether it's 1% of a threat, or even if it was a 10% threat, which would still be, wreck a substantial portion of the population. But even under that, even if, no matter what the threat is, destroying people's liberties is not the way that you counteract potential threats, because you're literally preventing people from doing what they need to do. Because there are a lot of people, like, if you're locked down, you could have grandparents right now that are isolated and alone, and the people that care for them can't even get to them because they're fearful to leave their house, right? There could be people suffering, but that's the thing, that the media is not going to report on these things in the way that like you and I would be, because we're not in any pursuit of power. We just want to do what's right and allow people to use their own critical thinking skills, give their ability, and give people that actually have expertise in the field to get some advice. But at the end of the day, destroying liberties is not, as we know, even if like I said the other day, even if we locked everyone into their own isolated jail cells, all 37 million Canadians, okay, you've prevented, I would say you've done a really good job to prevent Canadians from getting the virus, but now we're all basically indentured slaves and servants that are locked up behind bars by the state. So I don't know, ask me my choice, ask most Canadians, would you rather be locked up in a cage by your government or have that, go out there, take that, even that 1% or that 10% risk, but you have your freedoms to do so? Well, I'll choose freedom every day.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that if you remember the climate change nut jobs this summer that were marching for zero CO2 and no human activity, and let's extinct the human race.
Yep.
Basically, they were advocating the same thing that we're having right now. No human activity and people rotting indoors, and the government, the left, is just throwing bullshit, and they're trying to see what sticks. What I expect is going to happen in maybe a month, or people are going to start. They're going to go out of their houses and they're going to go on the streets. And if the cops try to stop them, I expect some riots, especially in Quebec.
Oh yeah,
Because in Quebec we riot for nothing.
yeah. No, that's a good thing though. There's some aspects of that. I'm glad that they have that predisposition to kind of rally against the authority in some way. But yeah, I agree. Well, people aren't going to be able to put up with this for very long. That is for sure, because the longer they're stuck or isolated in homes, the more time they have to actually sit and ponder. Right? That's the thing. At work, you might be able to put that stuff in the back of your head and just do your work. But if you're stuck in your home, you got a lot of time to think, don't you?
But there's the same thing about climate change bullshit and the COVID-19 bullshit is they want capitalism to fail.
Yep.
For communism. That's what they want. They want communism.
Oh yeah, some people do. And I mean, that when I did that video, I can't remember the name now, but I uploaded it. It's, you'll just check on it's been within the last month at least. But it was regarding that Naomi Klein, and she wrote an entire book on it, and there was some references within the book called Blockadia, about blockading major transportation routes and lines, like like they did, right? So we definitely know that there's a large cohort of people that would identify on that left side of the political spectrum that do want to shut down capitalism. So like I said even yesterday, K Bono, who the hell is benefiting from the way this is unfolding now, right? The very people that would have been the ones that would have been full on supporting Trudeau, right? So, and the fact that the oil sands now is going through that. Now, I know that the price fixing is something that the OPEC countries do, but I mean, the OPEC countries are doing what they're doing too, but the U.S. doesn't have their oil trading at basically nothing. Now they are starting to lose money. And actually, I heard this morning, and I hope they don't do that. Was it U.S. or Canada, where now they're trying to come up with their own cartel, like a North American cartel, but price fixing isn't the answer either. That's the other problem. Is there's lots of ways to try to counteract this, but I'm not sure if you're 100% familiar in this, but I've heard arguments from both sides, interventionism and not, and I recognize there are countries that are going to practice interventionism, but you know what? Those countries are going to ultimately cause harm to their own economies or societies. But to me, it's allowing some semblance of free market to actually function could actually play a vital role and keeping everything humming along. Because once you break down, and that's the thing, once all these businesses are shut in or the oil sands are shut in and people become accustomed to it, well, if we constantly have to rely on external sources because they're going to basically shut off basically our oil sands, then you are wholly reliant on everyone else. Now, under free trade scenario where that's always and forever going to be allowed, I'm all for free trade. But let's say some of these OPEC countries decide they're no longer, like, remember the embargo and stuff, or that happened in the 70s. Like, let's say something else happens along those lines, and we lose that supply line. And now all those people that were trained in those fields are no longer in those fields, maybe have retired. There's no one being trained up and coming to win those fields because those positions no longer exist. So what, we're basically left helpless, right? So no, I really believe that we need, it's very important, it's imperative that we keep the economy going. And I've always firmly believed, as much as I'm all for free trade, I've always firmly believed that we should have in Canada. The problem I've always noticed is we don't do any of the value added. We basically extract our resources, send them somewhere else, usually to the US, and they do all the value adding processes and benefit economically as a result. Where I think we should have some facilities and lots of those value added processes done here in Canada.
Are you still there?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay. I want to talk like as a biochemist for just 1 second.
yeah, for sure.
Um, everybody who's listening right now, everybody you know, all of you have been exposed to the virus. You've all been exposed to it. This is what happens every flu season. We're all exposed, but your lymphocyte B fought the infection before you even had symptoms, and you already built memory cells. So you won't be infected a second time like Stéphane Molyneux is trying to push. No, you're not going to be infected a second time. Uh, you're young, you're not 80 years old, you don't have AIDS, you don't have cancer, you're going to be fine. You're already immune. And one thing I want to point out about immunity, if you want to have a strong immune system, what you have to do, you have to sleep well, you have to eat a balanced meal every day, you need to be positive about life, you need to exercise. These are healthy ways to build up your immune system. What the government is trying to push is the opposite. We're locked indoors. People are suffering from anxiety. People are eating junk food all day. They're staying up all night playing video games. We're doing everything to fuck up our immune system right now.
Those are great points, God, because you're absolutely right. Well, I mean, even myself, like I say, I'm not nearly as knowledgeable, but I know myself, and even my wife is, yeah, you know, if you dispose yourself to some of these things, like the human body was amazingly designed, and well, even a lot of animals designed in such a way that we do have ways to counteract these things with the whatever the hell we got inside our body that does fight off virus. Like I say, I'm not technical in this aspect for sure, but yes, if you're constantly, you know, never testing or allowing your immune system to put up any resistance, then I believe that you're 100% correct.
You're roboting right now.
What? Sorry?
You're roboting.
Oh, bad quality. Sorry about that. All right, maybe if I try closing up a couple of these. Try closing up a couple windows here. Oh, actually, let me just read something real quick from the Babylon Bee. I found this quite funny. It's a comedy. It's a satire site, but teachers urge government to reopen schools before students learn to think for themselves. I like it, because I was thinking about that too. This is a perfect opportunity for all those people, especially with, you know, the schools all shut down. If you want to learn how easy it is to get an online education, and I mean a really, really good one, right, then this is the perfect opportunity to do so. And there are already resources out there, and I'm sure there are people right now that are busy, you know, creating a curriculum of some sort to take advantage of this opportunity. And the fact that we can do this, like I say, you don't have to sit in a classroom with just, you know, 20 or 30 students. You could do it with, you know, you could literally have 1 million people at once watching your lecture, or if you're even just in, you know, in grade school, right? You could be doing this in real time. And the cost, think about the cost. I mean, basically pennies on the dollars, because all you need is the cost of your internet, your broadband, like whatever you're using in terms of, like, if you have unlimited, then it's just the cost of your monthly internet connection, right?
And you can learn anything online, you know?
Yeah.
Just type on YouTube, yeah, those bitches in education, they don't want to lose their authority, like Cartman would say. I would like to say something about Dave Collin, Computing Forever. At first, he was pushing
right. Yeah.
he was pushing for that coronavirus bullshit. And then he turned around, and I need to applaud him. Like, he had the bravery to say, "All right, I was wrong. I'm going to look at the other side of the argument." So that's good on him.
Yeah.
And what he reported on yesterday in Italy, man, that was hardcore.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
People who died, who had coronavirus in their system, are the cause of death on paper is coronavirus.
Right.
That means a Muslim had coronavirus and he drove his truck of peace. That's 200 deaths due to coronavirus right there. Like, people who had heart attacks, people who died from cancer. There was a kid that was born that his organs failed,
Hmm.
and the parents had corona, so they wrote, "Look, a newborn died from coronavirus." The statistics are all messed up.
Hmm.
China was hiding some of their mortality, and
Right.
in the EU, they're exaggerating them. So you
That-
cannot trust any statistic that is coming out of the government, especially when the government is using this as a propaganda tool. So
yeah.
what are you going to do with these numbers? They're if you were a scientist and you were doing an experiment, and you influence the result at this to do with your research. You have to throw it in the trash. It's worthless. There was too much bias in your research.
Mm. Well,
Uh,
that is the problem, and especially when you're talking about statistics, and as many people have said already, is there's there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? It just depends on how you want to report them too, because that's the thing with these, especially these media conglomerates and institutions. They have teams of lawyers that basically explain to them that as long as under certain, like, what if you say a specific statement, as long as it meets whether it's mode, medium, or means or whatever, then yeah, it might be completely misrepresentative of the actual facts, but you're not actually lying, right? So they say they play that gray area, when they're reporting on this stuff, to kind of lead people. And it's not just the coronavirus, but when they talk about people, how many people that agree with them, or like they'll do a poll, like a sample of let's say 1,000 people, and they'll say, well, based on this, if they extrapolate that out, right, to 37 million, they're trying to pretend that that's a representation of the population. But I mean, no, that actually it can never be, because that's not just how societies just don't break down quite that easily. That 1,000 people, if you oversampled, let's say if it's something that's against I don't know, conservatism, like fiscal responsibility, let's say, right? If you skew heavily more people that would lean more towards socialism, or left leaning people, if you had a larger percentage of the number in the sampling of that polling, you're going to see those numbers represented in the results, which is going to say, oh yeah, the majority are all for socialism. Yes, based on that sampling of those people, but break down the sampling and who the hell were those people. A lot of times it's those people, they just keep going back to the same lot almost time and time again, especially in the ones that you're using phone lines. You're definitely not getting a whole lot of young people, right? How many young people today with phone line, a home phone? What are you talking about? Never. There's people, Gen Zers alive today wouldn't even freaking know what are you talking about, a home phone? What is that? A landline? What are you talking about? Right? So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the problem with using statistics, is it definitely can be manipulated. Hey, I see Mario made it into the stream. Let me bring Mario in here. One sec.
Hi there. Hi.
Hey,
Sorry for
what's
running
going
late.
on?
Can
No
you?
worries, buddy. No worries.
hey,
Glad to,
what's up,
glad to
man?
see you. Yeah, Gato just said hi there. I was talking over him.
Oh, hi there. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Uh,
You?
Not
I,
bad. Not bad. Nice to meet you. I'm Mario.
I
I
forgot
I
to ask
I got
Mario. Sorry, I forgot to ask again. Are you in Ontario or Quebec, Mario?
Ontario.
Oh, okay, Ontario. Okay, I thought you might have been in Quebec as well, because Gato's in Quebec there, and I'm in
Oh.
New Brunswick. Holy Christ, we got that
Hey,
whole
yeah, I got the 3 line. There we go.
yeah. No, yeah, but we're not going to be able to travel back and forth though, apparently, because I'm seeing, well, especially between Quebec and Ontario. Is it true? I guess I'm seeing that they have the border, even like there's checkpoints at the border now between
Looks
the
like
provinces.
it. Looks like it. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
from
wild.
from what I get, Quebec is less authoritarian than the rest of Canada on this crisis.
It could very well be. It could very well be. Like I said, I just, when it comes to the whole how everyone's handling it, I still think that I have yet to see anyone in the political class from anyone that's actually, trying to, bring someone like myself or someone on to. This is how you know that it's all like basically organized bullshit when they got like expert. Why is there like I exist? Why, if you're so secure in your knowledge, why wouldn't you at least bring on one libertarian? Just one, right? Because we do exist, obviously. So why? I mean, and if you wanted to prove that we're wrong and we're just a bunch of nut bars, bring one on, and then you would like that would sell your point perfectly if I came on there with my tinfoil hat, right? But the reason why you won't see that is because they want it to seem like they're experts and are in somewhat disagreement, because they'll kind of have a little counterpoints with each other. But at the end of the day, after the camera goes off, they're like, oh, that was good. Hey, you want to all go out to drinks together? Whereas me, like, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of people that want to use force and violence against me. Sorry, I don't get along with those kind of people. So damn well that these people are just, it's just a facade to make people think, oh, well, the conservatives have this stance, the liberals have this stance, the NDP have this stance. And yeah, they have different tweaks, little boutique differences between how they would want it, but they all, at the end of the day, want to use government, the ultimate monopoly of force, as a means to try to squash a virus. What the heck? Right? What Mario said in his tweet this morning, like for his grandfather, that's what you do. If you want to take care of the elderly, the weak, and help them out in some way, yes, do what Mario. Be wise. Like you were saying when you were going there, and your 80-year-old grandfather, you didn't even go in the house. I gotta say, even, and I was saying earlier before you come on, I got a grandmother that's 94 down in the senior home here. I would love to go visit her, but no, I'm not going to put her at any risk. And I would, if even before I would do so, I would make sure I was tested and 100% proven, not to have contracted the virus, even if I had no symptoms, because I care about my grandmother just like you care about your grandfather. But to pretend that Doug Ford or Legault or Blaine Higgs, to pretend that these people care more about your family, your loved ones, than you do, and that they got the right answers, like that, to me, it's just holy crap. How could anyone believe such a thing, right? I don't know, other than the power of indoctrination.
Yeah, for sure. Clarified though, actually, it was actually my grandfather that came to my place, because my grandmother, she coming from an Italian family, my grandmother still, like, she loves to cook and stuff like that, wants to make food for the family. So my grandfather brought the food to my place, but we told him, please stay at the porch, please don't come into the house, leave the food there, and we'll give our food, because my mother made something for them as well. We put it at the front porch, then he left his stuff, and then he left, and then we would grab it. So that way we always kept a distance. We washed our hands right away, so that way we prevent the infection. But yeah, 100% what you're saying is that, like, I feel that people today, we tend to, like, as a society currently right now, we tend to lean toward like government involvement, government solutions, when really I feel that we have the capacity and the ability to use common sense to protect our vulnerable people, instead of having to like give everything, all our liberties to the government. Like that's not what we want, So.
No. Well, like I would say, and anything I say, if you want to watch through my past videos or streams, I'll just bring it up now, because this is very important, especially for you younger folks, that because the younger people need to hear this, because especially if all they're getting is stupid establishment media, or their friends in school that only heard their parents listening to the establishment media and giving them their advice, is just to get them so that they're kind of thinking critically about this, is just paint up a little scenario for them, right, and let them kind of walk themselves through it, because I think that's the best way to do it. Because if you tell people that, oh, it's my way, I know where no, just walk them through a scenario. And like what I was doing earlier is, so because my grandmother, I care for, and she's vulnerable, right, is in that care home where she is, that's the best place for her to be. And what I would want to do to protect her is to make sure that environment remains the space that is safe for the vulnerable. As far as me going outside, or my wife going to work every day, which she's in, retail groceries, so that she is considered, like essential service, she's putting herself every day at risk. But the thing is, she's willing to assume that risk. She's not overly concerned. She's, and she recognized that, food, we all have to have food. Now, how would it, let's say let's say she wasn't in retail. Let's say she was in something that they said wasn't deemed essential, but she's the only one in our household right now working. Well, if she had to stay home, we're screwed. And I'm not in any position to get any government handouts because I haven't been working in a while. I don't like so basically they'd be putting us in a really, really vulnerable position. And yet they're not protecting anyone that way, because the people that are out in public are the people that are taking that personal responsibility on themselves to choose whether they want to go out or not. Now, if someone is outside, it's this same old argument with mandated vaccines and stuff. Listen, if you want to go outside and be in the public, and you know there's a coronavirus, you are the one that's placing yourself in a vulnerable situation, not my wife. My wife is totally willingly accepted that she may contact the virus and she'll deal with it if she does. But she's not going to put aside the ability to be able to provide, to keep food in the household and the heat paid and all that. So the people that are vulnerable, rather than trying to lock down everyone else, is make sure, and the best way to protect them is keep them isolated. Who would ever think, like, to say anything to my wife would be, you're out. So I just paint a scenario. Okay, so someone goes up to her checkout and says, you know, I'm scared that I'll get the coronavirus, so you should be home. Well, why are you the fuck here in the first place? If you're the one that's scared that you're going to get the virus, then why should I be home? You should be home. Why am I? That's that collective punishment, and that's something that a lot of the young people need to hear. Is collective punishment is not how you do it. If you want to protect the vulnerable, and I'm all for it, and social, even outside. Like I was saying this earlier too. Sorry you missed a lot of this, Mario, but I'm all for the social distancing too. If I was out in public right now, I definitely don't want to be too close to anyone, right? But those things is really all required. Locking down entire segments of the economy or entire jurisdictions or populations, that's not. And as they recognize, if there are such things as essential services, and like I was alluded to earlier, they're even saying Tim Hortons. Well, if Tim Hortons is considered essential service, and you know how many people are going to Tim Hortons, and so there are people out in the public. So there's already this potential already. So how are you actually protecting anyone? You're not. And like I said, the only possible way they could ever paint the scenario where they could is if you locked everybody down. And then if you've locked everybody down, well, then you live in, you no longer have to worry about that 1% chance of dying from this disease, but you have 100% chance of now living in a totalitarian state where you have no freedoms or liberty. So you pick your poison, but I'll take that 1% chance over 100% chance of no liberty any day, right?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Is my mic working right now?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Gato. Yeah, I know we got 3 in here, so I'm gonna kind of let you guys kind of do some talking here, because I can go on.
Well, first of all, I want to say the measures you took, Mario, for to protect your parents is great. Like you were acting like it was the Black Plague, but what I'm gonna say is gonna pop your bubble. The packaging of the food that you gave to your parents, unless you disinfected it, some guy at the grocery store, he touched it, and the guy that got it out of the truck touched it.
And we did. We
you brought the virus inside your grandparents' house. So if your grandparents are positive, like the way you describe your parents, like they like to make food and see their family and they're very happy, I think they're quite healthy enough to survive this. So, and the second thing I wanted to point out is that the scientists and the health professional, we cannot speak up right now about this bullshit. We would lose our job. We would be banned from our professional order. We would be fucked. Even challenging this narrative a little bit, we would be fucked. Did you see? My screen is all black. If if I were to speak out about this, I would lose my job as a microbiologist. Fuck that. I would be done for life. And something else about health professionals, they do a personality exam when they're chosen for the program in university. So usually these people are very agreeable. They look for a certain personality type. They look for people that are very liberal. Well, not real liberals, like liberal Canadian liberals. People who are inclusive, like diversity, LGBT plus, whatever bullshit, and like people like some yes men people,
right.
Like So these guys aren't the type that are going to challenge the narrative anytime soon.
Mhm.
The only way this is going to end is for people to be fed up of being stuck in their houses. And you know what? They're going to throw something else. They're going to throw some new bullshit afterwards. Right afterwards. I promise you. 6 months later, I don't know what they're going to try. Like Martian attack or what? There's going to be a meteor that's going to eat the earth. You need to stay home. Sorry, guys. We have to stop capitalism because all life is going to be extinct. Like, it's always the same thing.
Here, I hear what you're saying. By the way, can you hear my microphone? There was like a little bit of an issue I had a few seconds ago. Okay, perfect. I just want to double check. So yeah, I definitely saying. It's just right now, like I myself, I've identified as a libertarian for the longest time, and I still am. It's just that I'm also trying to take everything with a grain of salt, and I'm taking, I feel like I tend to sit on the fence in a lot of regards, and I'm kind of play devil's advocate a little bit, so that way I can kind of get like a full, like what's the term called, where you have like a big scope of taking a grain of salt from everywhere. So
Spectrum.
yeah, spectrum. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Just want to have like a wide spectrum of like considerations regarding the situation. So that's what I'm trying to do. But first off, I definitely hear what
for you. I applaud you for that, actually, because that's what everyone should do. Don't ever take just anyone's word. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, your mic. Can't hear you. Oh, it's showing mute. It's showing mute. Did you hit the mute button?
Hey, can you
There
hear
you
me?
go.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think what happened was I actually hit the mute button. I think my sound started to go buzzing all of a sudden out of nowhere, and then after it just turned on again. So if it happens again, might be like 10 seconds to make
Okay.
that. Sorry, but anyway, so thank you. I appreciate that. So what I'm thinking right now. So first off, Gato, I definitely feel you there from what you're saying, because myself, like as an educator, like I have to be very cautious of like what I say and stuff like that. I've been told many times, and I'm doing my best, but at the same time I also have like the desire to be outspoken, but like within limits, so that way it I'm able to express things in a way that coincides with my aspirations, but also with regards to the well-being of the people, especially those, let's say, right now. That being said, I my family and I have ensured that we would sanitize the bags and stuff like that, ensure like the virus wouldn't spread from the truckers or from anyone, retail workers, us ourselves, like it could very easily spread. So we're taking precautions, and like Bennett said, there's always that 1% chance where anything could happen, and that's just a factor of life. That's just a factor of reality. That's like, this isn't something we could pin the blame on the government. Be like, oh well, government didn't do enough to protect me from that 1% chance of me getting the virus. Like, come on, like we have a government to try to manage things right now. I mean, I feel that big government is no good. So we want to try and avoid government from getting bigger. But the point is that just anything can happen. It's life, right? Now, with regards to protecting the people that was mentioned, here's my take on this. Like, I am 100% in favor of ensuring that we have our liberties. Don't get me wrong on that. But I think the argument coming from the other people on wanting these government enforcements is the fact that if people choose to not take pandemic seriously and tend to, have businesses open up, business as usual, people go to parks and stuff like that, that will allow this particular virus, like COVID itself, not the other viruses, but this one in particular, because this thing spreads like absolute wildfire. Like, it spreads very, very quickly. So that's why I feel that in order to have, like, let's say, like as of right now, until there's a better remedy for having having to have a government to begin with, there's these government measures to ensure that people won't be shafted or ousted for saying that they want to stay home. For example, I know there's many workers, even though, like, let's quote essential services, I know a lot of them choose to stay home and until the pandemic goes away. And I know of some workers, but I don't want to risk working. I'd rather stay home, and the company owners would have to respect that. Now, at the same time, if let's say all the businesses were to be running as usual, you wouldn't be able to have like if people were to stop working or leave their job or whatever, like they'd be stigmatized financially and not be able to support. I think that when there's like public calls to shut down businesses temporarily to prevent the virus from spreading, I think it might help prevent that virus from spreading unintentionally by people. So I'm a little bit right now, I'm a little bit on the fence of like having these measures. Do I think that there should be police enforcement? Maybe not so much, but at least public calls to say, hey, you know what, everyone absolutely stay home, this thing's going to spread like wildfire. Evidence is Italy. Look at Italy. They didn't act soon enough, and now everyone's devastated. People are done, and my family that's in Italy, they're terrified. So I don't know.
Can I just respond real quick to that there?
Of course.
Just two things there, Mario, just to kind of help you think a little bit more about that, because I get what you're saying. The one thing though, and it sounds good, like in theory, right? A government edict. Now, I definitely agree that whether it's governments, although you shouldn't have to get it from government, doctors, media, I mean, any source where you get your news or information, they should be getting warnings about, yes, practice as much social distance as possible. If you don't have to go to work and you're completely, you're wealthy as heck and you can take that time off, enjoy like all that. Anything that's voluntary is fine. But once you get into the mandate, it's literally to suggest that just because a government edict or mandate, as if that there's never been a government mandate or edict in all of history since governments have ever existed that is actually everybody follows. Like in prison, you're not allowed to have any weapons, right? But all kinds of weapons, no drugs allowed in prisons, all kinds of drugs. It's illegal to murder people. You'll still find out all the time. People are going, so locking down everyone. I get what you're saying, and trying to flatten the curve. I even suggested that I think that's a great idea. But once again, once it turns to the mandate, which you're kind of alluding to anyways, yes, I'm for giving good information, great advice, but leaving that into people's hands and not mandating allows, like I say, a multitude of ways for people to come up with new constructive ways to figure other way. Where's that one size approach or that blanket approach to it? As we've seen time and time again, even with mandatory punishments or they never actually prevent bad things from happening. So to me, it's a false illusion to think that you could have prevented this or flattened the curve by somehow the government just decreeing it. So, right?
No, I agree. I definitely hear 100% what you're saying. Sorry, what was the other point? I know you had
well, the other point was actually going back to when you first started talking about libertarian, and what I would suggest, especially because you are an educator, and this is very important, is the best thing you can do to help people when you're talking about libertarians is take the politics of it, because that's kind of the thing I've always had a problem with. Is there are a lot of people that take the philosophy of liberty and try to superimpose that and make that part of like how states govern, right? But because government is literally a contradiction to the non-use of force, that's where they're always running into even I was a minarchist like 10 years ago, but once you work through the logic, so really all you got to do is when you're teaching anybody in terms of libertarianism, libertarian has three fundamental principles. There's self-ownership, which means I own me. Nobody owns me. I own me, right? And property rights. So anything that I produce as a product of my intellect or my labor or anything else that I provide, anything that I produce is my property rights. Or if I buy it by way of building something else and exchanging it for money, and then I buy property with that. So it's just self-ownership, property rights, and then the most important thing, which is not just philosophical in nature, but it's your ethical standpoint, which is the non-aggression principle, right? Which is, well, sub portion of philosophy anyways, right? It's your ethics. So all you're saying is not to use preemptive force or violence. And all of those things can be universalized out, which Stefan Molyneux with his UPB I think he's done a really good job to create a modern form of secular ethics where we don't have to look to God or government as the pretense. Because, I mean, as human beings, what does separate us from nature is the pretense of morality and ethics. So to get that, historically, it used to have to come derived from God, right? But the one good thing I will say about God, even though it is an abstract concept, but at least because it is an abstract concept, it can be completely universalized. Now that they've brought that down and made the state the new, arbiter or authority of morality, well, that is, like I say, God wouldn't be a contradiction. The premise of it, right, is to suggest, but government, I mean, that's why you can't use government as a substitute for God or morality. And I'm saying for the people that don't want to believe in God, especially young people, I totally understand why young people don't want to just believe in a magic man in the sky. But people like Bert Weinstein or Brett Weinstein and others are trying to figure out how can we bring this just like Stephen Molyneux, how can we bring this down, because it is objective, it is universally consistent. It's basically akin to the scientific method now. It's just like math. You can test your hypothesis and it'll work in no matter if you're here or there. So what it is now today is just we as humans, modern humans, are trying to, and luckily we live in the age of information, is trying to figure out how do we make some kind of universal form of ethics without having to turn or pivot towards the pretense of a God or a government. And I think libertarians, like I say, are the leaders in that very concept, and philosophers like Stephen Molyneux. And I'll admit, even with Gato, like sometimes Stephen Molyneux does go on some crazy stuff at times, but I know why he does it. He's got a channel that he's got to try to maintain a lot, and he's, he has to pivot. I mean, if he just only talked about philosophy all the time, which he did, he covered most of the good stuff like the first 5 years, right? But now he's trying to maintain an audience, gain an income. So does he sometimes kind of seem like he's betraying his own principles? I'll even admit, yes, but I believe he still has the proper intentions. And like I say, the fact that I don't worry about the man per se, I worry about the ideas, and the ideas are what matter most. And the idea of universalizing our ethics in this modern world, I think, is so important. And for you younger people today, that is so important, because once you understood how to universalize your ethics and your morality, and you have that logical and that consistent thinking, there's no need for a government. There's literally no need for this, no need for the magic man in the sky, right? There's just people that have to enter into voluntary contracts and obligations when you do enter. So, if you want to live in a society, well, you can't hit, you can't steal, you can't, right? So and I mean, come on, most of us, even as kids, we figured that stuff out. Even if most of the times our parents learned it, but even if you all just went out in the woods somewhere, like, let's say a dozen kids, 10 years old, you'll figure it at some point in time. Even just those young kids will figure it. Well, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to use force against each other, right? So I think, like I say, that's the most important thing I think you young folks need to really do, or younger to me, I should say, anyways, is help people understand that libertarianism shouldn't be about politics. Because I hate when people try to bring libertarian down to the level of politics. Politics, then it's just a matter of who's, preference, right? Like, do you like the color blue or red, right? So,
no, I completely agree with you, and I want to add on what you're saying, but I know Gato wanted to say something earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Before we move on, I want to just rewind a bit about what you were saying about the fear and all that stuff. I'm going to dispel most of your fears right now, and I'm going to immunize everybody that's listening to this, to all the bullshit that's coming out of the government. TFM always says words are magic spells, and it's true. It's all in the delivery, They say that the coronavirus is a pandemic. Every flu is a pandemic. If the virus hits more than one country, it's a pandemic. The way we make our vaccines, there's two spots in the US, one in Europe and one in China, that we take the strains of a virus to create the vaccines that we sell all over the planet. So calling something a pandemic, so what? We have pandemics every year. And second thing they're saying is it's a mutation. 2 days ago, I did the math on minds about mutation. There's billions of mutation just in your asshole every day. It's true. Go see it. So something mutating, yeah. Well, how can something not mutate? That it's statistically impossible that something is not going to mutate.
Right.
So that's just using special words to create fear in you. And as for Italy, you were afraid of how things are bad in Italy. We were talking about that at the beginning of the stream, and you should go and listen to what we were saying, or go see the Dave Collin video he did about Italy yesterday. The numbers are completely fake. It's rubbish. It's not 10,000 deaths. It's maybe 1,000 deaths due to coronavirus. There's some health professionals in Italy that are starting to speak out. It's completely rubbish.
Why?
Could you help clarify that though? Like how you expanded on that when you were mentioning it earlier? How that
In Italy,
they died, but the attributing factors, there were other external contributing factors, right?
if you were infected with the coronavirus, no matter what killed you, they're gonna say that the cause of death is coronavirus. There are some people that are having heart attacks. Some people are dying from diabetes. Some people are dying from car accidents. Some people are dying from whatever. And because they could find the coronavirus in your nose, because they are not making a test in the plasma, it's just in the nose and in the throat. They're calling it a coronavirus related death. So the numbers are all fake. And what I want to say is that your nose, to have the coronavirus in your nose, that it doesn't mean that you have it in your system. It just means that you have it in your nose, and it's hard not to have pathogens in your nose. Your nose, it filters out the pathogens before it enters your lungs.
Okay, so that's interesting information. I appreciate you mentioning that. So just to clarify, so you're saying that someone, let's say in Italy, contracted the coronavirus, but they had a heart attack while they had the coronavirus. They would consider that a death on account of coronavirus?
Yes, there were a lot of heart attacks that were exposed by the independent medias that were classified as a coronavirus death. Coronavirus doesn't cause heart attacks.
Okay, right. So it's not like they're doing an autopsy to ensure that the death was directly related to the coronavirus.
I don't think they're able to do autopsies right now. There's too many people in hospitals, so
I see.
When the smoke clears, the bullshit is gonna come out, and people are gonna lose a lot of trust in health professionals and scientists again, and that's too bad because we're working really hard, scientists, to improve humanity. You know.
Well, listen, could I just ask one question for anyone that's in the chat or even from you two gentlemen here is, I'm just curious. I've seen there was one video I seen this morning, but that's the thing. I just, well, they did a pretty good job because they showed the number that's on the building. So, and the street it's on, like, so there had to be some way to prove it to me. Cause I'm not going to fall for anything if I can't, test it out and make sure it's valid. But it seems that, and we're hearing the claims that the hospitals are overwhelmed. But I'm also hearing a lot of conflicting messages. And when I think about it and I absorb the information, well, it kind of makes sense really is, I mean, even myself right now, would I want to go to the hospital for any reason? Like I don't usually anyways, because I'm a pretty healthy guy. I take care of myself. But, there's a lot of people like in these rural communities that it would be nonstop down got just even the slightest sniffle, right? In this Candace socialized healthcare, hey, it's free. Go. So they just like it's like they're hypochondriacs. They're there like every day, right? Hey, why not? It's free, right? No, that doctor's not working for free, by the way. But anyways, but I'm just curious because, like I say, I'm not trying to suggest that there's any conspiracy theory or anything going on, but are the hospitals truly overwhelmed? I would think a lot of people would be scared to death to go to the hospital unless they feel like they really need to at this particular time. And people are showing actually examples where now this was a lot like down in New York, because that's like a major outbreak happening at what we suggest in New York. Now, like I said, they did only go to a few hospitals, so I don't know, maybe that hospital isn't that busy, but it seemed like that they didn't look well based on the camera footage. It didn't look like it. There was this massive, like the hospitals were so massively overwhelmed. And now I do have a doctor and a nurse in my family. Maybe I'll try to reach out, but that would only be one hospital. They're both in the same one in Fredericton there, Dr. Everett Chalmers Hospital. But actually, yeah, because my other aunt that used to work at the one QE in Halifax, she's retired, so I can't even ask her. But I'm just curious, like, are the hospitals like really genuinely being overwhelmed? If you guys really heard anything with, like, I mean, not just gossip, but like with some knowledge.
No, like no, for sure. I actually just coincidentally, like probably half an hour ago, I saw a story from a friend of mine whom I went to high school with, and as far as I know, she's a nurse. In the hospital, she had to wear the respirator on her mouth. It's like a mask that's a lot better than the surgical mask. It helps to protect you, right? So she wore a respirator for like over 4 hours, and she said, "I wear it for 4 hours. I haven't had any water or whatever, right?" And then in the next story, shortly after, probably 15 minutes after she posted that, she took the mask off. You could see the lines on her mouth right here from wearing the mask. And she goes, "Oh, thank God, I'm able to drink water. They told me to take a step aside to drink water because I needed it because I felt like I was good." Like she said that she felt like she was going to faint, right? So she was exhausted. I saw in her picture that she was exhausted. This is someone I went to high school with. I know her, and yeah, she's on the front line of this pandemic alongside the other healthcare workers, and you know,
right. But did she suggest that like she would like was it overwhelmed there? Because like that to me is that would be a major concern. Obviously, is to make sure that that there are. I mean, the facilities were kind of short, but that's the thing. We're so in our Western countries, we're so efficient at everything that we're there's really not a whole lot of excess capacity. Actually, even when I was a truck driver, in terms of like GM and manufacturing, it's basically constantly there's not a stockpile of a whole lot of anything. Even when you're talking about like manufacturing, it's kind of like you're a rolling warehouse nowadays with trucking, right? So it could even be that these hospitals are being overwhelmed. But I just because I'm hearing conflicting stories, I'm not going to say I know one or the other, but I'm just curious, like because that would I think would be a pretty bad ordeal because of the fact that we do have limited supplies or limited venues to like hospitals for this kind of thing. And maybe at this particular point in time there should be maybe some thoughts going into if this is something that might be something that happen again in the future, is maybe have specific hospitals, maybe a couple of them in Canada for just such a thing. Because that's the other thing too, hospitals, yeah, but now you're like who was it, one of you were even alluding to earlier, okay, if you're in the hospitals are being inundated with all these coronavirus cases, well geez, that's where there's a whole lot of people that are susceptible or vulnerable in that place. So I don't know if that's even a great idea to start. So I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I have something to say about that. I worked as an health professional during the H1N1 pandemic in
Okay.
the and people, when you say the symptoms on TV or in the newspaper or something like that, people are going to rush to the hospital because they believe that they're infected. The hospital are going to be overcrowded with fake cases. And from the patients I've talked to this year, most of them were released from the hospital because they didn't have the coronavirus. Tons of people went over there to get treatment, so the system is overflooded. But I haven't seen one person that really has coronavirus yet. And I've worked like maybe you guys are in vacation, but I work really hard these days, and I saw a lot of patients. And the second thing I need to talk about is the incentives in this country that are upside down. People on welfare will rush to see a doctor because they want a prescription to get the OTC medicine for free. And this messes up all the statistics. Just because they don't want to spend a little money to get some Tylenol, they're gonna flood the hospitals and all the clinics.
Right.
And this happens every time.
Yeah, that makes actual total sense. Yeah, that's the thing with this. Well, I was even when I was talking to the wife, because this was when I was still in Ontario, and they were saying that they were going to offer prescription drugs for free. The thing was under the Win Liberals, prescription drugs for free for people was under 25, right? And I was like, "Ooh, damn," because I know you can get a medical prescription for marijuana. I was like, "Oh Lord, does that mean we're all going to be having to pay for everybody's friggin' pot habit now too?" Like, because you can, right? Technically, you can get a prescription for medical marijuana, and especially now that it's legalized. I'm hoping that that's not just another backdoor people are using our healthcare system so they can get some cheap or free weed from the government, like force me to pay for it for them, right? Like, I don't know. But anyways, I'm kind of getting outside of the whole bounds of the conversation there, but just me thinking it loud. Go ahead there, Mario. Got anything to say there, buddy?
Well, I mean, I definitely hear what the both of you are saying with regards to like our current state of healthcare, because I mean it is taxpayer funded, and the thing is, from what I understand, I think this is what the NDP party was saying during the election, was that they're saying that taxpayers need to more taxpayer money has to be allocated for prescriptions and everything, because they were saying that uh, them access the way we allow them access to healthcare based on the taxpayer funding, they'll end up waiting until their condition worsens, and then they'll go to the hospital for the worser condition. When really, if they received the earlier, Tylenol or whatnot, or earlier medication, it would prevent the issue from getting worse. And they were blaming that and saying, okay, this is why the government should expand more to include these medicinal treatments and stuff, right? But then on the opposite side of the coin, where I guess where we are, is that people should to the medicine, stuff like that, so that way it doesn't get worse and people don't have to wait until they have to go to the hospital for the far worse treatment, which burns more money. They should have access to it, but then we want it where that we don't have to use taxpayer funding. It will be done where people will have access to it, but without having to expand government. It's a catch-22. It's very tricky, and that's why, like, I know, Bennett, you were saying that we have to think of innovative ways to improve our society without having to rely on government intervention. I'm 100% in favor of that. The thing is, I'm not a medical professional. I'm an educator with regards to computer science, so I'm not the most well versed with biology and health. But I do feel that, I know there's a bit of a tangent, but a lot of people, especially those that are on the Bernie Sanders bandwagon, they're all saying like, oh yeah, government funded healthcare. Sorry, taxpayer funded healthcare. I gotta make that distinction. Taxpayer funded. They say, oh yeah, universities should be free, colleges should be free, but yada yada, like da da da, right? But that's where I'm thinking, okay, do we have to rely on government? Not necessarily. Like, if we could think of a system that lowers costs substantially and still allow people adequate access to education, we won't need government to intervene in the education system. We could do it through the free market, right? And I think we could totally do that. There's ways to innovate to bring those costs down, because the moment you government, as far as I know, they're going to keep it status quo. They're going to keep it the same. They're not going to make any changes because, hey, if we're falling short on something, we just have to raise taxes. We just have to gouge the taxpayer more.
Yeah. Well, right? I mean, that's why I've always had such an amazing appreciation for free market capitalism. Because if you think about it, any competitive endeavor, especially in terms of the economy, but you could expand that out even in if you want to go race somebody, right? Like I'm a big fan of racing and those kind of sports. But if you think about it, in a competitive environment, you're going to want to increase to lure that customer. You're going to want to increase, your product, like the whether the reliability, like how long it lasts, how effective it is. That's because you're incentivized to try to lure that customer to your store or whatever you're providing, right? So that competition automatically, even if you say, oh, those savage, greedy capitalists, they could be the most greedy people they want, but they're not going to have no market share, right? They're going to lose it, and they're not going to be very viable. Whereas the one that's going to lower the price, increase the quality, they're going to be pulling all those customers. Whereas government, as soon as it's something that's mandated and you just have this never-ending credit card of taxpayers, like, where the hell is the incentive for anyone to keep the cost? It's actually the opposite, right? It's kind of like with mandated insurance and stuff. I don't know if you folks have ever had any instances, but I had a lady run into me, and because government mandates it, there's not even any way to have proper accounting done to see if these insurance companies are actually doing things proper. Like I even ran a whole scenario how you could properly set up insurance companies that would be much, much more viable and be accountable. But I had my truck, and the lady ran into my back. I was actually going to community college at the time, doing some upgrading, and I had to come to a quick stop, and she smacked into the back of my truck, caused a lot of damage to the front of her car, but it just bent my bumper. And when I went to go get the bumper, the guy said, "Well," I said, "I need a new bumper." "Well, is it going through insurance, or are you going to pay out of pocket?" "I don't know. I don't know, probably depends on how much it costs, I guess, or whatever," right? It's like, well, if you want to pay out of pocket, I give it to you for $500. But if it's going through your insurance, it's $1,200. Same goddamn bumper. Wait a minute. Boom, by just magic of the fact that I'm going through, so which is obviously going, that's added cost. There's an extra $700 coming out of that big kitty, right? That shouldn't have had to. And then the insurance companies will claim later, oh, we got to raise rates because there's all this external expenditures that's not being accounted for, which like I say, to me, it always comes down to what way do you want to incentivize, right? And the incentivize, even though there are people that are going to make wrong decisions, there's still going to be the snake oil salesman. but because you're never going to perfect society ever. But the best thing that we can do is incentivize the proper actions. As we know, another thing, and I'll say this real quick and I'll tie it up. Same with the financial crisis. Yeah, they all did a lot of these banksters, these dipshits. They all did a lot of things that almost brought down the economy. But what happened? What was the consequence? Oh, we can't let them fail. They're too big to fail. So they bailed them out. It's like, oh, we got away with it that time, right? Where's the incentive to stop? Now they're even bigger than they
right.
Right. So,
right. And that's also what leads people to dislike capitalism, because they think, oh, this is how capitalism. No, that's government. That's government. That's not capitalism. Trying to bail out these big companies. That's oligarchy.
Yeah.
That's not capitalism.
Yeah, no, capitalism would have meant J.P. Morgan, all of those, they would have all went under. But people think, oh, then we wouldn't. Oh, trust me, there's a lot of intelligent people that would be sitting there in the wind saying, oh, I'll start up my business tomorrow to fill the void. You think there's not entrepreneurs and businessmen out there waiting right now? Like, oh, if we could get rid of some of these established players, they would fill. That's the thing. People don't have any faith in the entrepreneurial spirit, especially, for us Westerners, that, like whether you're talking about the UK or Canada, man, you got to, like, to me, I trust that. I'm not worried about things breaking down if there's genuine freedom in the market and people can. Because there's always going to be creative destruction. Look at what we're doing now. We're basically creatively, well, the sources that we're using now, like YouTube and streaming, we have creatively destroyed a lot of those establishment media, right? And gee, I'm sorry for that, but that's the cost of progress. It's a shame and all, but look, even you and I can, or the three of us today, can spread the kind of information that's needed and vitally necessary without having to go through the CBC. So I'm very happy to have disruptive technologies, because that's really the only way. And that's the other thing that I'll just say this is, people that call themselves progressive, once again, it seems to be this contradiction in terms, because they seem very regressive. Progressive would be same with the education system, like we were all kind of talking about earlier. It's so easy to get an education in the age of information, but yet the progressives, they want to stay with the stuff that Egerton Ryerson brought over in the 1840s, right? Right. Sorry, anyways, go ahead, guys.
Bennett, I have something to say. You guys went over so many subjects, so I'm going to rewind a bit.
I know, sorry about that, Gato.
Medical drugs, and that people are afraid because they don't understand, and that's true. If some people have the knowledge and some people don't have the knowledge, that's a way to restrict freedom from people. So there's so many drugs right now that are being tried, and people don't know what's true, what's not. And you were talking about natural remedies, and I'm all for natural remedies. And I'm going to propose one right now. You know that capsaicin is a great anti-inflammatory coronavirus. Maybe they should eat spicy food for all the lockdown. And I was talking about capsaicin, the molecule in peppers that create the spicy. That's actually an anti-inflammatory molecule. So what's the worst that could happen? People would have a tasty experience during the lockdown. That's the worst that could happen. So come on, guys, eat spicy food for a month. You're going to be fine. And the placebo effect is going to work too. If you believe that the spicy food is curing you, it's going to work.
Yeah, sorry, Gato, your connection is kind of, I don't know if you're getting the same on your end, Mario, but it's kind of very robotic on my end. I didn't quite like robotic.
Yeah, I missed the part that you mentioned about the remedy. I think you mentioned. It cut out a little bit. Would you be able to repeat that?
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, is it working now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat everything I said.
Yeah,
we were talking about all the drugs that are on the market, and people don't have the information. They don't know what's good, what's not, and holding back the information is a way to keep control on people. It's a way to restrict freedom, because you don't know what's being inserted in your body. And you were talking about natural remedies, and I'm all for natural remedies if you can do it. And I was talking about capsaicin. Capsaicin is the molecule that creates the spice pepper. that's well documented. It's an anti-inflammatory, and it really works. So if people are afraid of getting the coronavirus, maybe they should eat spicy food for a month during the lockdown. And the worst thing that would happen is that a very tasty experience, and the placebo effect would help their health. It would help their immune system. They would think that they're doing something constructive to fight the disease.
Well, that's great advice. I would just say there would be one other consequence that I'm aware of, because I do like spicy food, and that's a month-long case of the Ring of Fire.
No toilet paper.
I can't believe people were hoarding toilet paper like crazy. Like I don't understand the logic. Like if you're genuinely like out of toilet paper, there's water. Use water. I don't understand.
Well, you know what? I get you. You know
Mario,
what? Sorry. That was my initial response too, and the wife. But you know what? That's me. I'm just one of those people I love. I don't know why I would even fucking overanalyze something like that. But actually, I got to think about it, and I try to. I have this thing I can just put myself into different perspective. I don't know. It's weird, but anyways, but I was thinking, okay, other than food, water, and shelter, which obviously are the bare necessities every human being needs, and it's instinctual that we need them. I was thinking, for Westerners in particular, some countries or jurisdictions around the world would be like, wait, toilet paper? Who gives a shit about toilet paper? But I was just thinking, what is something that us in the West always make sure that we never run out of, right? It's like, and I thought, okay, it doesn't make sense because it's a coronavirus. I get that, but I kind of understand where people like, let's imagine they're dreaming up in a scenario in their mind where things do go into lockdown, and there's like the shelves are all bare. They're thinking, okay, I got to make sure I got food, got to make sure I have water, got a roof over my head. Fuck, I still shit all the time. So I'm thinking it. I know it doesn't seem logical initially, but in a way, I can almost kind of understand the psychology behind it in the West, right?
I'll try to explain it. It's an evolutionary behavior to stock up when you see a danger, disaster, or something like that. Usually you would stock up food or something like that. It gives you a sense of control in a situation that you have lost control. But usually what happens is that the power runs out. There's going to be a tsunami, an earthquake, or whatever. And usually what people run out in those situations are toilet paper and bottled water.
Yeah.
And because during most of the type of disasters they have went through, it's almost a second nature to feel in control. They're going to buy toilet paper and bottled water.
Yeah. Makes sense, because even if they're loading me on, even if the coroners load me into that wagon or something, I at least want it. Well, I guess actually your bowels let go anyways. I guess when you die. So never mind. I gotta forget all the way I was going with that. But I'd be like, yeah, I at least want to clean ass, right? But anyways, yeah, that makes sense. But I agree. Yeah, people will automatically think of those things that they need, and like I say, it seems a little bit far fetched or out of the left field. But then if you think about it, I guess it kind of makes a little bit of sense, right?
But Gato, you have something to say, because I just wanted to ask you something.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I know you're saying that one of the you're suggesting that eating spicy food can help protect us against if I'm understanding this correctly. From what I'm understanding, you're saying that eating spicy food will help
reduce the symptoms of the disease in the lungs that will create lymph, and the lymph will prevent the oxygen from going to the alveoli, and there's going to be necrosis of some tissue in the lungs. But they have tried many inflammatory, and some of them, the INS, non-steroidic inflammatories like Advil, naproxen, aspirin, made the symptoms worse for the coronavirus. This is why they're trying hydroxychloroquine right now, which is an old drug. It's a very, very old drug, but has some promising results. But if you take capsaicin, if you suffer or you have bad joints, or you have chronic inflammation, spicy food will help you. It's well known that it will help you.
So it's good for reducing the symptoms of the coronavirus.
Yes, not preventing the disease, but if you have it, the symptoms should be lessened a bit.
Interesting.
I
Okay, thank you
can't.
for sharing that.
I don't have any research that would prove that because there is no research on the coronavirus right now. But logically, it would work.
Oh, I
So,
see. So in
what
theory,
you- yeah, so I guess what you're saying then, Gato, so because it does obviously affect your lungs, right? So what you're saying is that at the very least, it may potentially, reduce enough that, if you were someone that, had reduced lung capacity, a smoker or something like that, at least it would give you a little bit of a better chance at be able to make it through or survive. And even if it was only like measured in the small percentile or tenths of it or 1,000, but you're saying at least it would give you something, or possibly, potentially. And like you say, it's not like you're telling people or suggesting to go drink antifreeze or anything, right? Like you say,
oh my God.
no harm, right? No harm from having a little bit of spicy food. Like I say, I'm a big fan myself, so I'll take your advice regardless.
If you're a heavy smoker, there's pretty much nothing that can help you. Every year, so many patients that are heavy smokers, and they catch everything that passes, every disease. It's the smoking is so bad for you. If you want to help yourself, stop smoking right now. That's the best advice I could give.
So I have a question. Yeah, go on.
Before you do, actually, yeah, keep that question in mind. But I will say, because Gato, actually, I 100% agree with you, because I was a truck driver. So while I'm driving truck, pretty sedentary lifestyle, right? You're sitting on your ass all day. But of course, I'm pretty active when I'm home and stuff. So it was a balancing act. But when I smoked, I noticed, yeah, like even just try to take in a deep breath, it's like I couldn't even seemingly, and it would hurt even if you tried like to take a real. So I get what you're saying. And I noticed it's probably been what? It was in my 30s. So I'm probably 15 years out now. And like I didn't notice it. Probably took at least 5 years to even start to really notice it. But I got to tell you now, after it's amazing. And I agree with you 100% just on my own anecdotal experiences. Like my lungs are perfect. I feel like today as a man, like going on 50, to tell you the truth, I feel in terms of endurance because of your lung capacity, right? Is I feel like I'm way more physically fit and better shape and have much more energy as a result. So I agree 100% that quitting smoking, it was the best thing I ever did. My wife was super happy about it and after I quit and then you smell that smoke smell, I was like, oh damn, it's like you put up with that all those years.
You're on the right track, Bennett. Doing exercise and trying to improve your lung capacity will help you, but from smoking all these years, you have some permanent damage. That's for sure.
For sure. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying I did. I'm for sure I definitely caused damage, but I'm saying compared to then as to now, night and day.
That's good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Gato, so you're saying for everyone to stop smoking. I completely agree with you on that as well. Would that include vaping and also marijuana?
Vaping is so goddamn bad for you. There's some molecules in industries that you'll have some biochemists like me that are going to go over the industry and take air samples. One of them is benzene. Benzene is so carcinogen. It's terrible. And the vapes, they have aromatic molecules in them that are basically benzene. You don't want to get that stuff in your lung. It's garbage. It's goddamn garbage. You're free to do what you want, but be aware that it's garbage. And don't smoke pot either. If you wanna have a buzz, don't damage your lungs for that. Make brownies, for God's sakes.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense because now you do have a lot more options, like with things like CBD oil or like you say, these some of these edibles and stuff. So yeah, because of course, yeah, I would even agree. I tend to partake on the old cannabis from time to time, but I would say that yeah, smoking, I don't think anything's probably not great for your lungs, right? So I think it's probably wise advice. But it's also, I would also suggest there's some aspects of cannabis that probably are, yeah, I guess it would be the balancing act too, right? Depending, let's say you're someone that has, you know, chronic pains or stuff. Because I've known not just myself, but other people that have even said that like cannabis use, you know, as long you're not saying to be too heavy, but can really, really help. And if you consider some of the alternative options that are out there, I would definitely suggest that cannabis would be much better than especially some of those opiate-based prescription drugs that are offered for that stuff, right? Would you agree with that at least, or
Y-
not?
I need to say something first.
Yeah.
Um, your lungs is something that you should take care as much as your brain, because there is almost no immune system inside the alveoles.
Right.
So when the body wants to get rid of a body that's not from your body inside of you, a particle or something that's say a tattoo, like that's a good example. There's particles that are not of your body inside of you. It's going to use the immune system to get rid of that,
Mhm.
but there's almost no immune system inside your lungs.
Oh.
So it struggles to get rid of particles. You shouldn't smoke stuff. You should take care of your lungs. And sorry, what was your other question?
Oh, it's Mario.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think that was that one question about the vaping and marijuana and smoking. Oh, I think the other thing I want to ask was, and by the way, thanks for that information you gave. With regards to Italy again, like you were saying that the numbers are inflated and stuff like that. Um, what kind of purpose do you think like that would be
Control.
controller?
Control.
Right.
It's all about control. You're dealing with some people that are power mad. So to have control over you, they're going to use fear.
Mm.
They used fear during the Cold War about the nuclear weapons, and I made a blog about that, describing the impact of a nuclear weapon. It was overblown. It was exaggerated. All life on Earth will end. There's going to be a nuclear winter. My ass. Like we exploded a lot of nuclear bombs on this planet, and it's well documented. If you want, you can go on Google Scholar. There's a lot of books on that. It was exaggerated. The climate crisis is bullshit. They use fear to control you. They're using fear right now to control you with the COVID crisis. It's all about control.
Mm.
You're just a cog in the machine, and they want to control you.
Well, if you think about Italy in particular, because I'm just trying to run through all the scenarios because of how even since the post financial crisis, Greece is still going through right. Like I mean, they're recapitalizing, they're spending buttloads of money. The ECB has been on stimulus since basically since the financial crisis. But yeah, Italy was next. I know because you know the government was getting the money. A lot of Italians, they know how to make sure that they don't, right? But Italy was one of those countries that they would definitely be looking to find something because I would suggest that maybe it's not so quite as easy because I mean Italy's got a lot of history, you know, Roman Empire, the whole thing, a lot of pride, a lot of so I don't know, yeah. But if you can create rampant, massive amounts of fear, and because that's the other thing, the whole economic, that's the secondary part of this is actually I think is even the primary is that we all knew that the economy, well, since the financial crisis, if you've been paying attention, like I say, well, ECB, Mario Draghi said like he'll basically just keep it going forever. The Fed has even now said that they're basically on stimulus forever. The Canadian government, Trudeau, I don't know if you guys heard this. Now, the Conservatives tried to pretend that they did this backstop so that the government didn't have this unlimited credit card, but they stopped it to go till 2021. But the bill that was just passed allows the Trudeau Liberals to spend unlimited between now and June. So you know already that we were on the precipice, and because this was like they were suggesting the longest bull market, because that's the thing. Capitalists understand that that's the correct measure is the business cycle, right? Even I don't know if you guys know this or not, but if you've ever had any issues with your credit card historically or any kind of credit or debt, is usually 6-7 years and you can kind of restart over. Like, so if you have to go through a restructuring or bankruptcy, but that's the thing about capitalism is it doesn't keep everyone in the doldrums all the time. You get not just second chance, third chance, you get multiple chances. And because they had this long streak, that the capitalist market, I think what they recognize is they were destroying. There was not going to be any market anymore if we're constantly relying on government to stimulate the economy, because really the stock market valuations were a direct reflection of the stimulus. You could almost see it, how it was flowing from the central banks, right, to the banksters and these big corporate execs, and just buying up, like, either their share buybacks, or they're just using it, like I say, to inflate the market, the stock market. And then, of course, we know how much of that went into the housing market. I think they all kind of realize they don't want to go the Japan route. Like, because once you get into, that's the thing, in the West, there's countries around the world that can play with these things, but in the West, the most dominant capitalist countries on the planet, the places where it originated, once you get into like negative interest rate territory, I just, like, how do you ever get out from, how do you even explain to people that if you put money in the bank, it's constantly being eroded because you have to pay the bank to hold on to it, right? Like, negative interest rates doesn't even make sense psychologically. And that's the thing, because us humans do work off of incentive, and we need that proper incentive structure in terms of having any market capitalism. I think this is a big reset. And like I say, I'm not saying it's conspiratorial in nature. I believe the coronavirus it's real and all that stuff. But opportunistic authoritarians, or people that take advantage of situations, are going to use this. And look at what they're doing. They're using the coronavirus as the excuse of why the economies are breaking down, right? And in reality, I don't believe that's the case. I believe they're just trying to get out in front so that, future historians or those from academia can have something to write about and say, oh, it was coronavirus, right? That's why the market crashed. No, it wasn't because we've been printing money to the tune of trillions of dollars, right? No. I believe that, and like I said, you don't even need to be a conspiracy theorist to recognize that there's incentive to create a narrative to avoid all the failures that will clearly show that, no, it was Keynesianism. It was government intervention in the economy is what destroyed the West. It wasn't capitalism. But see, like you were alluding to, and even both you recognize that the Marxists, the socialists, right, they want to have an excuse so that they can say that communism or socialism is going to come and save the West from those evil capitalists, right?
Bennett, can I say something?
Yeah, for sure, buddy.
I'm looking at the chat, and first of all, I want to say thanks, Derek.
Oh, yeah,
he's been cheering me on from the start. And the second is a message from Tsa Nico. He said in the chat, isn't nicotine an anti-inflammatory? I want to clear that up. Nicotine is a chemical signal. The effect it's going to have on a cell, it depends on what the receptors are on the cells, and that will change from one organ to the other. So the effect is going to be completely different from one organ to the other. And the second thing about smoke is that it's full of garbage that is not nicotine, and that garbage is going to ruin your lungs as well. So if you think of using nicotine as an anti-inflammatory, like the Chinese government is proposing, just don't do that.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for that advice. Like I say, I'm actually really pleased with the stream today, because you got philosopher, you got an educator, and you got a microbiologist? Is that what you are, Gato?
It works in microbiology.
Yeah. So I mean, well-rounded, a bunch of people that I'm sure, like, you're not going to get this on CBC, folks.
I need to say something about CBC and CNN and all these guys when they have a so-called specialist on their show, and they're just saying he's a doctor. Being a doctor in lesbian underwater dance doesn't make you an expert on COVID-19. When I can find 10 things wrong in one sentence, I'm telling you, these guys don't know shit.
Yeah, well, just the sheer fact that, of course, I've always heard, I've been a student, I pay attention, there are such thing as experts. Well, to me, historically, if you have 10,000 hours of study in any particular field, usually you're considered an expert, right? But the fact that every time they bring someone on, that's just the go-to now. But to me, that's just code word for saying, don't listen to anybody else. this is the only opinion that you need to worry about because they're the expert. It's like, I don't even care, even if they may very well be an expert in some way, but it doesn't mean that they're an expert in every field and every. So to me, I would still say, even when the media pretends or reports them as being the expert, rely on different sources of information. And then once again, just use, and all of us human beings, now our levels of competence, we're not all equal. I get all that, there are variances in IQ and competence in different areas. But just, I believe most human beings are at least knowledgeable enough, once you've reached adulthood, to use just a little bit of common sense, test hypothesis, and like I say, get multiple sources of information and maybe talk to other people and kind of run it through, like bounce that information off a bunch of people and find out which one seems most logically consistent. It doesn't mean that you're still going to come to the final determination of who's being right or wrong, but at least it's going to give you, some moment of pause, because if you hear someone else tell you something that makes way more sense than the other person that's being claimed the expert, then you're automatically going to make sure that you're curious, and maybe you'll pursue other knowledge, and maybe you'll find out that expert was completely wrong. And like I said, that's not to suggest that everyone that goes on the media, they're all lying to you. I don't necessarily believe that for every minute either, but I believe in these times is getting your source of information or your information from one source it's gonna fail you miserably. Or even when you're talking about two sources, because a lot of people today will say, well, I watch CNN and Fox. Well, they're both propagandists. It's just one is promoting the right-wing perspective, the other's. So even if you say, well, I balance myself out by watching Fox and CNN, like, all right then, but you might want to maybe try turn on scientific program somewhere, or watch a YouTube video from an actual scientist or a mathematician or just other people than just relying on the fact that, well, there, I've done my job. I watched 10 minutes of Fox and 10 minutes of CNN. So there, I know it all, right?
Yeah. I want to build on what you're saying, Bennett. Great points, by the way. Is that like whenever you have, let's say, a so-called expert that is on CNN or Fox News, yeah, they could very well be an expert, but that's one of many experts, right? You can have, let's say, someone that's an expert in biology, right? And another person that's also an expert in biology, and they can have different opinions. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone's different, right? So I feel that one of the tricks that I feel that the media tends to use is they say, hey, we have this expert who is talking about, let's say, the coronavirus, but this expert is only giving out their perspective on the coronavirus. Meanwhile, there could be another expert who's just as credible in what they're saying, but might have a different opinion, right?
Yeah.
So I feel that sometimes the media tends to pick and choose the specific experts that suit their political agenda. And then they say, okay, listen to this person, only this person, because they're the expert, ignore everyone else. Then if there's someone who is an expert that might have different opinions, people will be like, oh, that person is not saying what this other person's saying, right? It's like this cult of personality thing that's kind of blossoming from this.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I need to cut you there. I need to say something right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Mario, in science, there's no opinions. There's no fifis. There's no opinions. There is no discussion.
Well, I mean, when it comes to theory.
No, just a second. If I say something, it's based on empirical facts.
Right.
If you want to contradict what I'm saying, I don't care about your opinion. You need to show me an experiment with empirical facts that contradict my hypothesis.
Right.
So, when you have specialists that are giving their opinions on TV, they're not scientists.
Right. No, I agree. And actually, I was kind of just going to expand on that my own self by saying, and kind of bouncing off what Mario was saying, was because, yeah, if you do have two people that are disagreeing, I mean, I would use it. Now, the rest of us we're not privy of the knowledge of microbiology as someone like Gato, but let's say, just to break it down to a real simple scenario, is let's say there were two experts on CNN. One said 2 + 2 is 4. One said 2 + 2 is 5. Yeah. Well, the math speaks for itself. I don't really give a shit who you can call the one guy an idiot and the other guy the expert, but the math speaks for itself, right? And kind of like what Gato is more or less alluding to is, yeah, the science doesn't have an opinion, right?
Right.
Did you see the joke I put on Minds about 2 + 2 = 5? There's one case in chemistry where 2 plus 2 equals 5.
What?
Yeah, you have two molecules reacting with two molecules, and you're going to end up with 5 molecules as a product. There's only in chemistry where 2 plus 2 equals 5.
That's weird.
Well, that would be that's quite the thing. But like I say, for anything that you would use, like I can understand maybe that's possible in like you say microbiology. But if you were using math in most of its applied fields, if you tried to make 2 plus 2 equal 4, like you can't do any, like computers don't work. You can't send anybody into space. You have no such thing as speed limit, like, or speeds or velocity, or because obviously mathematics is quite but I kind of get what you're saying, I suppose, in that scenario. But how does that work, Gato? How do you get something?
Look it up. Go see my Minds channel. You're gonna see it. I made a big joke about that, but it's true. The stoichiometry is right. There's a couple of chemistry example where you're gonna have 5 molecules as a product using 4 molecules. It's true.
Oh, but is it possible now that I can kind of see where you could go with that, and that might be feasible if the 2 plus 2, but then that one of the 2, separated into another 2, like sublet of 2. So then you would end up with 5, right? Is it because under that scenario, that would actually be completely consistent with normal mathematics, and you could see how that would happen, right? So if a cell divide, I'll just use cells, right? So if you have 2 cells and 2 cells, and they somehow join together, but 2 of the cells that are joining together have something that conflicts them, or because when they do join together, they create another 3rd cell, right? As a consequence, I could see how that would, am I even remotely close to, once again, I'm just totally guessing off that.
Okay, the equation is you use 2 molecules of F2 with the 2 molecules of water, and you're going to have 4 molecules of HF and 1 molecule of oxygen. So technically, you have 5 molecules as a product.
Okay, but I still, like I say, I think if you were in your field, like you could explain that pretty easily without anyone saying, well, then I just got to throw out mathematics, right?
Yeah, it's just stoichiometry. It's very simple. It's something you do in college.
Right. Well, that's interesting. That's something I definitely would never known for sure. But yeah, I think we all still kind of get the fact that we really need math to stick with the old 2 plus 2.
Yeah.
And also, Gato, I do want to mention that I 100% agree that science has to be based on empiricism. It has to be based on proof. 100%. Now, the thing is, at the same time, at least from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to the scientific method, we have hypotheses, and we look to prove those hypotheses. So I feel that, like, from the context of what I was explaining earlier, I was referring to, like, if a scientist has an opinion on, let's say, a theory or a possibility of something. Like, for example, I know that there's scientists who agree with human-led climate change, and there's scientists who disagree with human-led climate change, right?
Okay, this is the realm of religion.
Okay.
Because the empirical facts. So if you're just looking at the equation, the model did not make a single accurate prediction in 40 years. So if you're basing your crisis on that model, if you still believe in that model, then you're believing on faith, because there is no empirical fact that showed that this equation works.
Well, to me, when you talk about the climate change thing, I'm one of those people that I don't take one of either extreme of. I believe that, of course, humans, we got 8 billion of us almost. Do we contribute to some aspects that maybe has an effect on the climate? Possibly, but so does every other plant, or right? And is it necessarily bad that the climate changes? Right? Maybe for certain particular jurisdictions, as it's going through. Like, perfect example. Ice ages existed, and it happened before humans brought it about. You probably wouldn't want to live in the northern climates during the ice ages, and it probably would have sucked that you might have had to move to different places. But we're living on a giant rock traveling through space at tens of thousands of miles an hour, right? So of course the climate is going to change, and maybe humans contribute in some way. But to pretend that the Earth is so vulnerable that we're like that's a lot of entitlement mentality, and to think that you're punching way above your weight if you think that humans are going to destroy the
Yeah, you know what? Actually,
We'll be here long after us humans. Right?
oh yeah. Like the one thing, actually, to build on what you're saying, I've noticed, like, and there's been news reports that since human activity with regards to the business stuff has gone down, apparently air quality has gotten better, water has become more clear, and like like I saw like how the smog over China like dissipated very, very, very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So that just goes to show how quickly the Earth can rebound.
Of course.
Sorry, my voice is getting a little coarse.
No,
Oh, I don't know if that, but yeah, it just shows how quickly the Earth can rebound from like any human interaction, at least from my observation.
yeah.
I have two things to say right now.
Yep.
I can agree that the climate is changing. The climate has been changing since the planet was created.
Yep.
To say that what's to say that their reason, that their hypothesis is the reason why the climate is changing? It would make more sense to say that it's because of the sun, because most of our climate is due to the sun.
Yeah.
Second thing, people who base their, let's say, opinions, because now we can say this is an opinion, on their ideology. We can say that these people are not scientists. All the people that are pushing the climate change bullshit, these people are not scientists. I want to be very clear on that. There is no empirical evidence that supports anything they're saying.
Right. Well, you know, when I think about, I don't know, maybe you guys, because you guys are two smart dudes, and you obviously have some knowledge that I hopefully can help
You guys,
me.
not me.
No, but I'm just thinking, because I just remember in school, but once again, I would never pretend to like say that but I just remember in school, because I was really interested in science and astronomy and actually math. It was the things that I really enjoyed, actually. But in astronomy, even when you think about how the Earth, so not only are we on an elliptical orbit, but the Earth is constantly pivoting because we're off axis. Like the Earth doesn't spin perfectly around like the globe, like where the equator stays, at the 90-degree angle, right? We're pivoting. And what I was thinking, so as we're traveling around the sun, 365 days of the year, but because over that time and each year, you move a little bit further. So because at some point in time, like I say, which is why we go through heat cycles and cold cycles, which if you think about it, so if the Earth is tilted so that, the northern hemisphere is further away from the sun, then it seems that you're going to have more cooling over the time. Like each year that goes by, it's going to seem to, want to change now, very, very gradual, obviously. But then there's also going to be the time when the Earth is tilted where the northern hemisphere is pivoted towards the sun, which as you get to the point, because that's it, obviously it gets to the maximum point before it starts heading back the other way. So maybe we're roughly around that area where we're at that maximum point where the northern part of the planet is more pivoted towards the sun, and it would even explain why the northern climates.
What you're describing are seasons.
No, but I'm just saying it would even explain, because how they're trying to say that the northern, like Canada, is heating up even quicker than, let's say, like, the equator or countries around the equator. Makes sense if the Earth is tilted or pivoted towards the sun, because that's the sun is going to have a dramatic effect on the tip of the Earth that it normally wouldn't have when it's pivoted back the other way. But I'm just thinking out loud there, and like I say, not so.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
Dave Cullen pointed this out, and in every country, the same propaganda is being used. They're saying our country is eating up faster than any other country. So if every country is eating up faster than every country, which one is right? It's almost like saying which God is the real God right now. And second thing, Patrick Moore. Patrick Moore is my man. If he wasn't such a big feminist, I would be 100% behind that guy, but nobody's perfect. He showed the history of temperature change of the planet with the concentration of CO2 on the planet since the very beginning of the planet, and this is very well documented. Scientists have been digging up ice to make this model for decades. This is precise. We can see that the climate change is cyclical on this planet. We go through ice age through periods that are more warm. And Patrick Moore is always only making an hypothesis. He's saying we're probably coming out of an ice age right now. This is why we are seeing the climate getting warmer and why it's slowing down. It's not accelerating like climate change model is proposing. And the second thing, we should be more worried if into ice age than coming out of an ice age. In 100,000 years, those people that are going to enter an ice age, these people are going to lose their shit because the biomass on the planet is going to reduce. There is going to be life is going to struggle for a while. We're going into the easy period. We're going into a period where there's a lot of vegetation, where the climate is very good for life. So there's nothing to worry about. People
just give me 1 minute there, guys. You guys,
Oh,
what? Hello?
I think his feed cut out. So yeah, you were mentioning. He'll probably come back.
Yeah. So I was trying to say that people shouldn't worry about this climate change. They should be happy about it because NASA showed that the biomass on the planet has increased by 40%. This is good news. We're going to feed more people with that.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I heard it was the wife coming in, but I thought there was someone at the door there, so I had to go check on things.
No worries.
Right on. But yeah, like I say, well, I'm glad to have you two gentlemen on here and helping, kind of, like I say, at the very least, we're offering, lots of information and some tidbits to put into people's mind and let them at least think about it. Because that to me is the most important thing. You don't have to necessarily rely on the fact if I'm the ultimate arbiter of truth or Mario or Gato, but at the very least, yes, question some of the narratives that you're being presented with, and it's going to help alleviate a lot of, because people are panicking today. People are freaking. Some people are, some people aren't, and especially the young people today. I do not want the young people today. That's what I'm fearful of. Like I was saying in my stream yesterday, baby boomers, not all. Like say, if you're not one of those boomers, do not get mad at me. I'm just saying, but it was very prevalent, and maybe it was what you were taught by your parents of this whole collective punishment thing. I don't really know, but it was very prevalent when I was growing up, even in school, where you just somebody does something wrong, you just punish everybody. It's like it's such a terrible way, right? And it's just to me, I just want, like I say, I want us to advance a little bit each time, and hopefully humans will get to the point where we all treat each other as adults. But at the very least, start to get out from this collective punishment nonsense and this constant, placing your faith in people. I mean, just the sheer fact that people that go into politics, and I'm not saying all politicians are bad. Like some of them might very well go into these positions naively or willy-nilly believing that they can change everything for the good. But the fact that you're going into government, and once you understand what government is, like it's like me saying, oh, I want to raise my kids well, and I'm just going to beat them, right? I'm going to beat them into submission, and somehow I'm going to produce good, because that's what government is. Government is force. Government is not like, oh, would you please do something? No, it's not. That's private interaction. That's voluntary interaction. Government is force. So the people that are going into government, whether their intentions are good or not, they have to at least recognize that they're going into a position that they have this pretense of authority to do things that none of us are allowed to do. You're not allowed to steal from your neighbor. You're not allowed to control your neighbor, right? You're not allowed to do any of that stuff. But these politicians go in there, and I don't even know how a full-grown adult can convince himself that you can go into that and somehow limit your ability to have this tool at your disposal where you can just, steal that. It's just, I wouldn't, even myself, people have said, why don't you run for I would never, like, I'm a pretty moral guy. I think I'm very well principled. I think I might, if I went into politics, probably be like a Ron Paul. But at the same time, do I trust myself enough that I'd want to give myself up? I don't. Because why? Because I recognize that I'm a fallible human being like everyone else. So I would never want to have that pretense of authority over anyone. So just at least be concerned about these people that are claiming to be so benevolent. And the reason why they're cracking down on your liberties and your freedoms is to protect you. That's like the parent that's like, I'm gonna make you a good kid by beating the living shit out of you, right? I don't know. Yeah, they might turn out not to steal, but they're also probably really poorly developed in the brain. They probably don't even understand what truly right and wrong is. And, just the utilitarian argument that government or people in government makes that they can make something happen, even that has been proven time and time again, just by sheer fact that there's drugs and weapons in prisons, that there is no pretense of giving people this much authority and we're all going to be safe.
Benef, can I say something?
Yeah, for sure, buddy.
Let's just give 5 seconds from all these heavy truth that people are hearing right now and take a break. So I was yesterday, you were talking about it's hard for you to read all the comments when you're doing a live stream.
Yeah.
You know that Stéphane Molyneux used to have a mic reading the comments and making a triage. If you look at TFM, he has Shogun and Aussie English doing a triage of the comments and giving the narrator all the interesting comments to comment on.
Yeah,
you should make your live streams like that. You should bring friends to make a triage of the comment section so that you would receive all the relevant stuff, so you could be able to go through more stuff during your live stream.
Yeah, I agree. But what did you say? I should what? Because
you should bring some friends in the chat triage of the comment section.
Yeah. Well,
I know you have a lot of people on that you gave some power on your channel, so these people could come as friends.
Yes. Actually, no, that's actually a great idea. And maybe, but like I say, the reason why I've never asked it is because obviously, I mean, I don't even have enough to pay myself, and I can't, like, even getting $100 from YouTube, like, it's like freaking, like,
you could use Skype. Skype is free.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, like, if to ask someone to perform duties for me, like, to me, I don't know, like, if they volunteer,
I'm sure people would volunteer.
Well, that's what I mean. If someone wants to volunteer and do that, then of course, I would be very appreciative, and maybe Rika or maybe even you guys are. No, I don't know.
When I'm not working, I
never expect anyone to work for free. That's all I'm saying. And because I don't have any money to provide, then that's basically what you'd be getting.
Well, when you start your stream, ask if somebody wants to do it.
Yeah.
Just put it out there.
No, that's actually a good idea. That's thanks for offering that suggestion, because you're right. Because it is. Well, what it is the way StreamYard is set up is it goes down to a point and then it just stops and it says you have to click this box to get the new comments. But when you do click that box, it drops you all the way down to the newest one, which means you've lost out on all of them. And then, of course, I got to try to scroll back up, find out where I left off, which obviously wastes time, and then by the time you start scrolling back down, going through them, then you're putting yourself that much further behind. But yeah, if there was someone looking for the questions, I bet
that at the end of this stream, there's going to be 10 people in the comments saying, "I want to be that guy."
Well, I hope so. I hope so. And like I say, thanks for the suggestion. And I definitely, if anyone's willing to do that, I would appreciate it, because I love to get because there's some great people that come to this stream, and I love to get to the comments and get their, because I don't want it just because, I mean, I can, as you both probably know, I can ramble on forever, right? But I don't want it to just be me alone. I love listening to what everyone else has to say and making it, more about like the community together, kind of interacting with each other, right? Rather than, because I mean, if I just want to do me myself, that's what I upload my regular videos for. That I can do that myself. But yeah, I'd like to be able to do that. So thanks for the suggestion, Gato. But anyways, guys, what do you think? Should we maybe tie this up now? We've got 2 hours and 17 minutes already.
I think we talked about a lot of good things today.
I mean, it's up to you guys. If you want to keep going for a little while, we could even go into Joe Rogan territory for 3 hours. So it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys.
I don't know. I guess the one last thing I just would like to say is that right now, like, the reason why I'm kind of like teetering on the fence right now with regards to like how to address this situation is because like I myself am scared. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, I feel like my what's the term that comes from my instincts are kind of like telling me to teeter on the side of caution. But at the same time, I also don't want a scenario where our liberties are given up and then government takes this as an opportunity to take us over. So like, I'm kind of being pulled on both arms at this point. So I feel like right now I'm going to sit on the fence, but like, I'm going to listen to what other people have to say. Like, let's say yourself and Gato, and kind of like make an informed decision based on that. So.
Mario, this is, you're a male. Males are, have evolved to respond to outsider threats. So there's a threat narrative going around. You don't have the information to respond to it, so it's natural for a man to have these responses. But with information, you're gonna be able to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
Knowledge is something that gives you power, and fear comes from ignorance. So the less ignorance you have, the less you're going to fear, and the more you're going to respond. You're going to respond to the situation with intelligence and effectively.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Well
so,
said.
so basically, to keep a calm mind and a clear understanding, that will help you come up with a more logical conclusion. Like, is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on the right track. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And all I would add into that, great advice, by the way, Gato. And yeah, men protect and provide. It's built right into us, right? That's just, it's not a sexist thing to say. Sorry, biology created, right? Evolution created that. Sorry, but anyways, but yeah. In addition to that, what I would say to you, Mario, is I hear you, and I'm totally on board with people practice and caution for sure. But when you pivot away from just doing the right thing and being cautious and giving good advice, anything that's voluntary and makes sense and is built on 100% behind it. The problem is though with government, and because I'm an astute observer of history through reading through is just once governments, and I even in my own personal life in 50 years, I've never seen a government program go away. I've never seen a government gain any semblance of authority in any way and just give it up nilly-willy. So my fear is and that's the thing with the boiling frog. Once you become accustomed to it, and what I worry about, especially for the younger people, is they're so far removed today. Like me, I was growing up and I could still hear my grandparents talk about World War I or World War II. The younger people today are so far removed from that it's so abstract. They just don't believe it. Like it can't happen here, right? But I'm telling you, based on history, and it doesn't matter what jurisdiction or what country or what part of the globe, it's always the same. Power has a massively corrupted nature, and to think that the people that want to go into positions of power are ever going to relinquish that after they've attained it, that's some really mystical thinking. And I would say, as much as I definitely agree that we should practice and err on the side of caution, especially for the weak, the elderly, the vulnerable, but think critically how you do that. Is government the way to do that? Not for 1 second do I believe that those in government. I trust Mario and I trust Gato a whole lot more than any dipshit in government in terms of protecting the people that they care about, because you're properly incentivized to. You're going to care about your grandpa, Mario, or maybe people in your community, just by sheer fact that you've grown up with these people. You know these people. You love them. You've shared experiences with them. Some politician in Ottawa or Fredericton they listen. No, you know what's best, which is why individual rights, freedom, and liberty, and having our liberties to do what we need to do without anyone restricting or restraining us from doing what is needed or necessary is much more important than giving government the power to control us, whether it's socially or economically.
I agree.
I would like to say that these discussions are always a pleasure, and we should have more of them. And I think we did enough for today. Do you want to close it?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to say thanks to both of you, Gato and Mario, for coming in. And you're always, both you and anyone even in the stream too, I always put it out there, because I don't look to some people, like I know they look to popular like channels and try to piggyback. I don't care. If you got a channel with 1 subscriber, I don't care. I'm not looking. If you got ideas, I don't care. Like your ideas I don't require you to be popular for you to spread your ideas. I just care that you're in the pursuit of some kind of truth or knowledge, and you're going to bring some common sense. Like authoritarians, I'll even have an argument with you if you want, but you're probably not going to have a great discussion with me. But I would still allow you, even people that promote socialism or communism, I'm gladly have a conversation with anybody, because really at the end of the day, it's just a battle of the minds when it comes to opponents. And I would rather have the battle of the minds in a venue such as this than to where we get to the point where we're actually having to go, fist to cuffs on the streets, right? So let's do the battle of the minds, and we'll all be much better off as a consequence or result.
I completely agree. And Bennett, thank you so much for having me on your channel again. Sorry for running late. Sorry for coming in late. But again, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure, Mario. Have
Yes,
a good day,
and
man.
thanks, you
Right.
too. And also thank you, Gato, as well, for the conversation. I appreciate your insight as well. Thank you to the both of you.
Right
It
on,
was a
man.
pleasure. Okay, ciao, guys.
Yeah, take it easy, Gato. We'll talk to you again soon, buddy. And actually, I'm going to check out your Minds page and check out that post there a little later on. All right.
Same here.
But the 5 molecule. Okay, guys. Have a good one. And thanks to everyone in the chat. I don't know if I want to even try now with the chat. Probably wouldn't even be worth it trying to scroll through them. I'd probably go through another hour. So if you've had any questions there, save them for. Probably going to do another stream real quick there, everyone. And in the meantime, everyone take care of yourself and each other. No, that sounds like someone else's quote. But anyways, everyone take care. Don't get too panicky. Just remember that liberty is important, but you definitely want to make sure you're helping those that are vulnerable. And that's the thing. It's if you can't be with them in person because you have to separate yourself, then beautiful thing is, maybe there's someone down at the facility that maybe they've got a smartphone and you can telecommute with them, or they've got a tablet. That's the other thing about the modern technologies today is you don't even have to be there in person to be a comforting voice or a friendly face for the people that are now probably feeling like they're in some pretty precarious situations. And we got to do what we can to help those folks out. So everyone have a good one. We'll talk to y'all later. Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.
Same here. See you guys.
Right on.